That it. It's gonna be good. I did love that. I'm gonna stick with all the bullshit that I. How are you?
How are you?
I saw you on the honoring thing this morning.
Yes,
I think you were in your car.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to.
But I ended up parking.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah.
Because of the mastermind breakout.
What's that?
Because of the breakout session.
Well, no, I had a meeting at 10. I had a settlement at 10. So I was like driving to settlement. I got there like 40 minutes early.
Okay.
So I could like sit and just
So you
watch
got
it.
there.
You know? So it wasn't too bad. Hi.
Just saying.
Good, Roxanne. How are you? Yeah. Oh, thanks. Seriously? I want.
Yeah, I'm never really good.
Yeah, general public.
No, it's like Aaron.
Yeah.
Michael.
Well. Yeah. Pisces. Pisces have a lot to do with that, you're saying? It's a Pisces thing?
Yeah.
You believe in stuff? I thought I was a Pisces about like seafood.
I've heard that. I just use that too.
Well, I have to leave it. Well, no, I probably would leave it on 15. No, I'm getting online like like branding photos. You gotta learn about that. Screen.
I'm good at that. We're here now.
Yeah. I was just getting drinks.
Follow up.
We're not having it. Yeah, it's completely different. Yeah. Like,
Get started. Thank you. Perfect, good. How's everybody doing today? Great. Good. You guys ready to get started? I'm great. Good. Got a good workout in, drink my water. If I do that, I feel like my day is just gonna be fine.
I'd be ready to run my car into oncoming traffic. I'm clearly built different.
I'm gonna do that every day. So welcome to Agent Financials. Just show a hand so I can kind of know who's in the room. How many of you have taken Agent Financials before? Hands. Cool. How many of you, this is going to be your first stab or first kind of glance at what it looks like to run a profitable real estate business at this level, like going through a manual step by step to kind of see. Cool, awesome. I'm so glad you guys are here. And just give me a blank. How many of you have been in real estate for more than 5 years? Awesome. Less than 5 years, just so I can see the opposite. Cool. So this is going to be a really fun course. This is actually one of my favorite courses to teach because it gives you an actual step-by-step play on how to run a successful real estate business. One of the things that I always tell everybody is that at Keller Williams, we don't teach you how to be a successful real estate agent. We teach you how to be a successful real estate business owner. And that's a different mentality and a different mindset than what you'll get when you take your classes where they tell you your broker's in charge. Your broker is in charge by law. But what your broker's not in charge of is how you decide to run your business and how you decide to lay the foundation to create a business that you can one day sell. And so I want to start the course off by saying that, like, I'm teaching this from a perspective of I'm going to teach you how to build a business that you can one day sell, how to create an asset that will produce income for you while you're working in it, will produce income for you while you're not working in it. And then one day when you're ready to retire, you will be able to sell that asset so that you and your family will have either a passive income or a payday at the end of it. Does that sound good? So it's going to be different. It's going to feel different. I'm going to talk to you about creating partnerships with local CPAs and accountants and attorneys and all of those things, because as a real estate business owner, those are the things that you should have in place. Does that sound good?
Oh, yeah.
So as we get started, I just want to hear from you guys. Why are you here? Like, why? Why did you come today? Why are you giving me 3 hours of your time? Like, what's the deal? Why did you show up?
To gain more knowledge.
To gain more knowledge. Cool.
We just started a team. We came from a productive, successful team. We've been in the game for 3 years with them and then broke off, did our own thing. So I think we want to learn how we can be the most prepared to be successful and help our teammates be successful.
Awesome. Oh, that's right here.
Just trying to learn more,
Just learn more.
hear what you have to say.
Yeah, maybe entertain you a little bit through a song and dance.
Yeah.
I don't sing it well. I have been told I can dance pretty good though. What else? Any other reason why you guys are here today? I want to make sure that I touch on all the things and cover all the things that you guys want to learn.
I want to build upon what I've already learned from you in the past.
Okay, so build upon knowledge that you already have and see where the gaps are.
Yes.
I love that. Anything else?
No one has a reason to hear. It's like here now. Floating in
Something
the
better
universe.
today?
Floating in the universe. I put in the universe all the time.
You're the team leader of the office. Why are you giving us time today to be in the room? Did you say this?
So I definitely believe in sharpening your skills, and even though I've taken this class before, it's been 3 years since I've been through it, and in order to coach people and help them grow their profit, I'm going to sharpen my skills so I can help them sharpen theirs.
All right, so let's just make sure we have some housekeeping things done. Does everybody have a packet of materials? Do you have a packet of materials? That's the first thing that you're gonna make sure that you have. There's a couple people that just popped in. Okay. Do you have a pen? Do you have a calculator?
I don't have a pen.
Right.
I never have.
Get a pen, get a calculator.
You go.
There's pens up front.
Might just the pen too. Send it.
And calculators. I'm gonna make math fun today. Hey, Rachel. All right, let's get going. All right, on the screen, and this is in your packet, you're gonna see financially sound business. So when I talk about creating a financially sound business or an asset that you can one day sell when you're ready to retire, here's a couple of things that I want you guys to be keeping in mind when we're talking about a financially sound business. Number one, you have goals that are around that business that can help you live the life that you want to live and pursue activities to achieve it. So when you're in business and you run a business, you're creating your business so that it funds your big life, right? big life, meaning you're going on the vacations that you want, you're taking the time off that you're investing in the assets that you want to produce another stream of passive income. So that's gonna be one of the biggest things when we're talking about this class today. We're gonna come up with your big why number. Like how much income do you actually have to create every year to hit the goals that you want to create? You guys are gonna walk away from class today with that number. We're gonna talk about taxes.
Ew.
I'm sorry. I promised to go over that part quick. We're gonna look at the MREA models, and we're also gonna pull out this other book that has been foundational for me in my journey with Keller Williams, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. So I've been with KW for 15 years now, and this book has been one of the ways that I've grown wealth. I'm gonna walk you through some of the ways that I use the concepts in this book today. We're going to talk about how to review your financials. By the end of the day today, if you don't already know, you will walk away with a 9th grade level knowledge on how to read a balance sheet and an income statement. I'm not going to promise you college level, but a 9th grade level, like you could know what a balance sheet is, how to look at it, and then you're going to learn how to look at an income statement and be able to just know what those things are. You're going to learn how to pay yourself a salary, and how to leverage your business to pay yourself income consistently every month. And then how to prepare for the future, how to create this asset that you will one day be able to sell if you choose to do so. So that's financially sound business. So when on the next slide, it has unsound financial health. So when you have an unsound business, it's not going to allow you opportunities to grow. It reduces your effectiveness. You're spinning. You don't know how to get to the next level. You're doing the same things, but getting either the same results that you've always gotten or less results because the market shift. Anybody else feeling that a little bit right now, right? It's draining your time. It's not rewarding. The stress that this business is creating for you, if you do it in not a financially sound way, just creates you more stress and something else that you have to worry about versus creating like energy and creating something that you're proud to be part of. So when I think about building businesses and businesses that I've helped build, the ones that are succeeding are the ones that I have the most fun in. True or false? Like if you're winning every month and you've got $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 in gross commission income coming in every month, is that more fun than creating a business that like, oops, I didn't have a commission check this month?
Yes.
That shit blows. Like we're going to talk about creating businesses that like you can consistently rely on the income coming in so that you can plan to live a big life. I don't know, $25,000, $30,000, $35,000 a month in income sounds like a life that I'd be 100% fine with living. I don't know about you guys, but I can keep my expenses below that. Unfinancially sound businesses can be super expensive because you've got people in place that are duds, that aren't doing the jobs that they need to do. So this is how it looks in my world and how I've seen this show up. I hired someone, they were a dud. I didn't fire them in time. So I had to hire another person to take off some of the responsibilities that that person was doing. And then because everybody wasn't clear, things still weren't getting done, right? And then before I knew it, I had $25,000 a month in expenses for salaries and nobody was getting the job done. $25,000 a month. Just like, here's the toilet, here's 25 grand and flush it. So I don't want you guys to do that because that's ridiculous. I'm going to walk you through some of the strategies that I use to get out of that situation. The other way that it's expensive is because you're spending money on lead generation tactics on an agent level, spending money on lead generation or ways that you can generate more, top of the funnel leads into your business. And then you don't have systems in place for follow-up. You don't have systems in place of how you're going to do that. So then you end up spending, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month on lead gen. And then it ends up not getting you the results that you want because you don't have those systems in place. So that's a sign of an unfinancially sound business because you don't have the systems in place to hold those dollars accountable. So I'm going to give you the first criteria when you're thinking about a financially sound business. Every dollar that you spend should bring you $4 back. Every dollar that you spend should bring you $4 in return. So if you can kind of keep that in your mind when you're thinking about your business today, is every dollar that you're spending helping you generate $4 additional? And if you can say yes to that, then you know that you're running a financially sound business. That's your first little tidbit of the day. Again, we talked about these things. So this is a financially unsound business, and you guys tell me if you know a friend in the room, but don't look at them. That sounds like the way that they run their real estate business, okay? So they sell a house. Woo! Ryan Jerry sold a house. Ryan sold a house. Yay! And then I'm using you because I have to take you today. Okay, so Ryan sells a house and he makes $9,000 in commission. And he's super excited. And then he comes back to the office and he does all of his paperwork in a timely, efficient manner so that Jen and Rachel can do what they need to do. And it's all in compliance and everything is perfect. And then he gets paid $5,760 after he pays a split in royalty to the office. So he walks away with $5,760. What Ryan does is he puts it in his personal bank account and then spends all the money. Sounds about right.
Spending last.
He's gonna take his credit card off with the money that he knew was coming in. Financially unsound business, right? He doesn't have any plan for savings, he doesn't have any plan for taxes. He's just taking that money and spending it on his everyday life, living, right? Maybe he has to pay his mortgage or buy a new car, his car payment's part of that. But he's not planning for anything else inside of his business. So it's financially unsound. Now, a financially sound business is set up like this. And this is going to be one of those first moments where you might get triggered. I'm apologizing, don't shoot the messenger. But these are a couple of the different bank accounts that you should have set up inside of your business that you're running right now. Regardless if you are a solo practitioner or you're running a big team, this is how you should be running your business. So Ryan's gonna get that $9,000, and I taught him what to do with his money. So after he gets that $5,760, it's just look at his face. He's so funny.
That's probably when you work with your friend.
So you're gonna take that money and you're gonna deposit it into the business bank account. Now, we have a ratio at Keller Williams that we teach in the MREA, and it's called 30-30-40. Does anybody know what 30-30-40 is?
Come on.
I would say it's like 30% goes to taxes.
So what is it, Ryan?
Oh, shit.
He said, are you serious? Oh.
It's 40% for yourself, 30% cost of sale, 30% tax. Right?
Expenses.
Expense.
Expenses. So when you think about 30-30-40, write it down because it's 30% is going to go to your business expenses. 30% is your cost of sale. And what's left over, that 40% is what you have to spend and live your life. So in the most successful real estate businesses, if you can get a 40% ratio of what you get to take home after your commission, you're doing good. So 30-30-40. We're going to go through that a bunch of times today, and it's in the MREA. So the red book, has everybody seen the red book? Red book, raise your hand. Okay.
I've seen it.
You've seen it. You've seen it. Maybe you haven't read it, but you've seen it. You've seen it. So in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, they walk through these models with you. So that might be one that is on your reading list for the next couple of months. So 30-30-40. So you've got 30% that's going into a business account that's going to go to your expenses. And on your slide right there, you see you've got $1,728. Now, the first 30% or that cost of sale is taken out from the commission to your check. So that's where you're going to see your cost of sale come out to your office. And then what's left over goes into your personal bank account. So in this scenario right here, you've got $9,000 in commission. You've got about 4,000 of that that's going to go to your personal bank account. And then from there, you're going to set money aside for your taxes, depending upon what your tax bracket is. And then you're going to set money aside for your personal expenses. And we'll talk more about taxes as we go on today, but the way that we set up our market centers and the way that we encourage you guys to set things up is that you have a separate account for tax savings. You have a separate account for your business, your operating expenses. So you're right. So all of that money is going to go into a separate bank account. And you're going to keep that money separated. And we do those same models on the market center level as well. I think we have like 8 bank accounts, just to keep all of our money in different buckets. So that's what it looks like when you're thinking about a financially sound business. Just looking at that, what are some of your initial thoughts when you're looking at it being set up this way?
I don't freak out at tax time anymore.
You don't freak out at tax time
Right.
anymore, 100%.
There.
It's there. Yep. Anybody have your business set up like this right now? Awesome. We've got a couple. Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Is there anything, any limiting beliefs or anything that's like circling around right now that makes you feel like this is just too many bank accounts? So I get that feedback a lot. Like, why do I need to have all these bank accounts? You have that a little bit?
I didn't do this until I came to KW. And one day Katie Plank set me down and was like, here's what you need to do. You just need to do this and shut up and listen to me, because I was like, I don't want it. That's wrong. And I need one bank account. Then I can see. She's like, no, you don't. You need all this stuff. I don't want to do it. She's like, just do it anyway. Well, a year later, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Every day when I go to the bank, I'm like, oh, and I can look at it all and it's like exactly the same thing. I don't have to freak out when the taxes are due. I
Yeah.
just write the check.
Nobody
You
on
know?
the planet wants to reevaluate how much you have to spend on marketing
Yeah.
every time you look at one bank account.
Right, exactly. And it's like for Christmas, I just wrote the check.
Yep.
You know, it's wonderful.
That's
So
awesome.
she got me kicking, screaming, yelling and bitching and moaning because I didn't want all those bank accounts because I thought it was going to be too hard to manage, but it made it way easier.
So what you figured out through the process, kicking and screaming, is that systems actually were leveraged for you. And leverage makes things easier. So if you are thinking about that right now, if you're thinking, I don't know, man, that seems like, I saw some of your eyes go, like, I know some of you are thinking this way, like, I promise you, it does make it easier. Yeah.
So I fought with myself for like 2 years over this, and I like to blame things on other people. So I always use my accountant, you know, and I went and I hopped around from accountant. I didn't like any of them because they weren't telling me what I wanted to hear. And
They all tell you have to pay taxes, don't they?
but so what I didn't realize at the time was come tax season every year, I give myself to my accountant and then I bitch and complain about how much my accountant sucks because it's taking her forever and she's doing this wrong, and she's doing that wrong, and she's not doing things the way I like it. And it wasn't until about a year ago that I realized it wasn't the accountant's fault. It's because I didn't have a bookkeeper and I didn't know how to keep my own books. So if anybody hates their accountant and they don't have a bookkeeper, that might be why. But ever since then, my bookkeeper does literally all of this for me. Like I just look to see how much is in the account and that's it. She does all this for me. So for anybody that is like me, who just thinks that they hate their accountant, they may want to try to get it.
So you have a local bookkeeper, you use us,
I use Streamline Business Solutions.
okay, it's streamlined.
Streamline Business Solutions, yeah.
Okay,
And they follow the MREA model and they'll actually compare your expenses to the model to tell you if you're within budget or outside budget.
awesome, thanks. So if you are looking for a bookkeeper, if you don't have that, it's Streamlined Business Solutions. Could be a great resource for you if you need to get a bookkeeper. Yeah.
I do my own bookkeeping. I do it for my business, personal, but I can tell you all that spend the money, get a bookkeeper, because last year with buying my house, moving and everything, I got behind and it took me like a week to get caught up. So it is worth it to have somebody do it for you. It saves you time and money in the long run.
Yep, for sure. For sure. Thanks for that.
End of the year.
All right, so there's a couple of key numbers that you're gonna want to know. When you are a real estate business owner. So the first is your gross commission income. Your gross commission income is on page 6. Your gross commission income is the amount that's on the closing disclosure at your settlement. It's not the amount that you get to take home. It's like the amount that When you say I have a $10,000 commission, or I'm gonna sell a $200,000 house and I'm gonna charge 3% commission, the $6,000 that's generated, that's your gross commission income. Your volume is just that, it's the closed sales volume of that deal. So if you sell a house that's 250 grand, your closed sales volume is 250 grand. Anytime you close a home, it's a unit, and that's what we call a closed unit. So if you're on a team and you are splitting units, you might have a situation where you're only getting credit for 0.75% of a unit and someone else is getting credit for 0.25% of a unit. So depending on how you're splitting up the gross commission income and the makeup of your team, on Keller Williams world, you might see like you're only getting credit for 0.75, but it's because the other person's also getting credit for a portion of that unit.
So does that work that way when you refer stuff to, or like split stuff up, no matter how you split it, you're getting credit for, like, say it's a third to somebody and then 2/3 to the other person?
Depending on how your team's set up, yeah, most likely that's how you're gonna see it show up in your reports. And we're gonna look at your agent multi-year trend report. So I'd like to kind of dabble this in now, because sometimes people are like, what do you mean you didn't get credit for the whole unit? But someone else did a big portion of the work. So that's how that shows up. Net income is how much you actually get to walk away from after you've paid your expenses and your costs of sales. Your net income is what you get in profit. Money in the bank. Your cash. Like, what's it worth, right? It's just keep money in the bank. Multi-year trends report. I'm going to show you guys your agent multi-year trends report. So every single month when Keller Williams closes our books, you get agent multi-year trends report that will show you how many closed units, how much closed volume. If you turned all of your paperwork in, it'll show you how much pending you have, how many pending units you have. So really a large amount of that is dependent upon you guys turning things in. And when the office processes it, it creates a report for you that you can leverage and use for your growth.
Is that a report that comes out of command that we can self-generate, or is it something that comes?
It
from-
comes out of the report section. So it's
Okay.
not connected to command, but it is inside of like my KW
Oh, okay.
is where you pull it from.
I've never been able to pull mine up. I have to go to Rachel to get it.
We can look at it for you later. If you want.
Okay.
Yeah. And then your language of real estate. So your language of real estate is going to include all of the key metrics that we look at. So number of listings that you take in that volume, number of listings that you sell in that volume, number of contracts that you write in that volume, and number of contracts that you close in that volume. So we all together, we call that our language of real estate. And that kind of keeps us equalized across the board. So those are going to be the key numbers that you're going to look at. So when you're thinking about funding your big life and what you're going to do with your profit, there's a couple of things that you got to keep in mind, right? So number one, like, what are your goals? Like, what are your goals for creating passive income for yourself? What are your goals for retirement? Like, it looks like we're all probably pretty much around the same age. I don't know about you guys. I don't want to like
Wow.
work forever.
Look at those actually.
Nice.
It seems they're like, wow.
I need more. Work forever. Like, I don't know. Like, no, I don't want to work forever. I want to do what I want to do forever, right? I want to put my time and energy into things that I care about and the things that are important to me. Maybe that looks like I still have ownership in businesses. Maybe that looks like I'm still teaching, but I want to get to choose what I do every single day. Like, my goal is like I just turned 40 in October. By the time I'm 50, I'm free. I do whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want to do it. That's it. And then from there, I'll have another 50 years to do whatever the hell I want to do every day. Because I plan to
Whenever
live
you
till I'm
wanna do it.
103 days old. That's my goal. I mean, 100 is good, like 3 extra days just to say I really did it, count for like 8 years. And that's it, like I'm done. Like, so if I retire by the time I'm 50, that I have 50 extra years to live the life that I want to live every single day, doing what I want to do every single day. That's just my plan. So, and building a legacy, right? The things that I'm generating for my son. My son's a freshman at Penn State this year, right? And I'm already starting to see him have, like next year he's talking about where he wants to live. And he came to me at Christmas break and he said, do you think that we can just buy a place up at Penn State? And I can just, like his, 18-year-old brain, we just buy a place at Penn State. Like that's his goal. I'm like, okay, well, how much do you have for your down payment? And you might want to get a job. Right, like there's some things, but we're working his plan right now. I don't know if he'll get his goal this fall, but maybe his junior year, he'll buy his first investment property and he'll rent part of the rooms out to his friends and he'll get his first taste on what it's like. Right, but that's a legacy that I'm leaving behind to my son. So it depends on what is important to you, and that's going to be different for everyone. I'm going to share a little bit about what I've done and the things that I do that are important to me. That does not mean that that is something that you should do. You have to decide for yourself what is important to you and the life that you want to live. So I don't want to be up here like, this is like, everybody should do that. No, because some of you, maybe it's not that. Maybe it's something different, and you have to be the ones to decide that. But building a legacy is important, and part of what you can do by being a real estate business owner is start to create the legacy that you want to leave behind one day, if that's something that's important to you. So invest in your build a legacy. So your big life. So on page 8 of your manual, it has the first activity that you will do. So it says, envision your big life and write down the dreams you intend to fulfill with your profit. Be specific. I will provide my children's education so they're debt-free when they enter the workforce. Or I will build 5 homes to serve needy military veterans' families. Whatever those goals are for you. So take a couple of minutes now and write those goals down.
Just want to stack up.
Take another minute or two, and then I want to walk you through a quick exercise so I think you guys will enlighten you.
You adopted me years ago, and you didn't even know it. You already spent them. Did Mary already get her child?
I already spent Mary's and yours.
Married. Yeah. Mary's been yours too.
I have to own apartments.
All right, guys, turn your page over so that like you have a blank piece of paper in front of you. And then you need a blank piece of paper and a calculator for this part of the exercise. Just about that. This is what we're gonna do. You may not get this perfect the first time through. I'm using this exercise to get you to think about how much these things are. You're most likely going to want to go back afterwards and actually look at your bank statements, your credit card statements, and figure out these numbers. But this exercise is really designed to help you understand what is your big Y number. What is your big Y number? So on your paper, what you're going to do is you're gonna write down your this is only your personal expenses. We're not talking about business expenses. This is just your personal expenses. So your personal expenses. You can give me an example of personal expense.
My car.
Mortgage or rent,
Utility. Insurance. The grocery bill.
groceries.
Netflix and all that.
Right.
Entertainment, right?
No, shit.
The club.
That's what.
Now, some of that you can still write off though.
Yeah.
It's like,
Lifestyle. Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Rent, right? How much are your utilities? So how much is net ed? How much is Columbia Gas?
A month or a year?
We're just doing a month right now. So just monthly numbers, right? How much is your insurance? So car insurance, health insurance, if you have life insurance, all of your insurances, right?
Regardless if we're a multi-income household.
Regardless if you're a multi-income household.
Okay.
So we're just trying to get, what is the actual number? Entertainment expenses for the club.
Sending sugar to college. Sending sugar to college.
Yeah.
Any kind of medical expense, right? So if you have prescriptions that you're on. If you have to pay tuition for your kids, right? If you're in tuition mode right now. That's gonna be a personal expense.
Yeah, it's not a toothbrush, all that stuff.
Right. Supplies, hygiene supplies. All of those expenses. So take a couple of minutes now and actually write numbers next to these amounts so that you can start to get kind of I'm not gonna ask you to share this with anyone. This is gonna be your personal numbers. So gas.
Martha knows the biggest smile on the planet. I like this one. If you like my dog's sign for someone that has no bills, no job.
yeah.
I think I'm getting
All right, so these are just your monthly expenses, like don't include anything else other than the things that your lifestyle, right? Like, so your all the basic things that come in every week.
I didn't know. I needed to bring a credit card statement. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. You'll have to go back. This is just to get you thinking for today. So it does not need to be perfect. Because I'm gonna give you some tactics on how to like maybe do some other things. All right, next is your big life expenses. So for me, I have a vacation house in Ocean City, Maryland, right? I have a second home. That's a big life expense. It's not something that I need every month, but it's something that's important to me and that I have, right? Or money to save, money for tuition, right? So tuition, a second home. Vacations.
Is this what you have?
This is what you want, right? This is what you want, or if you've already started to progress to that spot, right? So let me give you an example. For the second home, I had to save money first to buy the second home. And now I have a mortgage on the second home that I'm paying for, right? So that's a big Y expense because if something goes awry, that can go away and I still have a place to live every day. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Where does like your expenses for investment properties go? Is
That
that under
could
play?
be under big life, right?
We do
So
this
investment
monthly?
properties.
It's like monthly.
Yes.
Just how much you would save, not, right?
A month.
Yep. The big life expenses. The way that I think about these is that my big life expenses are things that are important to me, that are things that I want to have and want to do, but if they went away, I could still live, like I could still have a roof over my head, a car, transportation, like the basic things go under personal, The big life things are all the extras. So if you're saving for tuition, right, for example, if you're saving for tuition for your kids so that they don't have to pay college tuition one day, and that's a goal of yours to live a big life for them, check where you would put that. All right, here's the next part. I want you to add up your monthly expenses, so you're gonna get your total. For your monthly expenses on both sides, or if you have a yearly total over here, that's fine. And what I want you to do is I want you to take that total and I want you to multiply it by 1.15.
The total of personal.
The total of your personal expenses. So everybody. You're gonna add up all your monthly expenses. You're gonna come up with a total. So do that part first. You're gonna then take that total and you're gonna multiply it by 1.15. Because there's probably something that you forgot, so we're gonna add 15%. And we're gonna adjust for inflation as well. Okay? So multiplying your total by 1.15 will give you the buffer that we're gonna be playing with. Is everybody good on that? Okay. You're gonna do the same thing for big life, right? So you're gonna take your total, your monthly total, and you're gonna multiply that by 1.15. You're gonna get a separate amount. So you should have two amounts, right? You should have your personal and you should have your big life.
Oh. The big life, that, you said that was supposed to be a monthly expense?
If you have a yearly, just you don't have to add them all up then. Like the monthly times, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So if you did both monthly, you should have an amount. I'm gonna put up amount here and just say that amount is $10,000 per month. Okay, so between your personal expenses are 5,000 and your big life is 5,000. You're gonna add those together and now you're gonna have your monthly amount that you have to generate in order to live your big life. And then you're gonna take that number and you're gonna multiply it by 12, and that's gonna be your yearly amount. So let me walk you through it one more time. I feel like there might be some confusion. Add up all those monthly amounts. You're gonna come up with your total. You're multiplying that by 1.15. And then you're taking that number and you're having you now have that number. You're gonna do the same thing on the supply side. You're gonna have that monthly number. You're gonna add those two together. That's now your combined monthly amount that you have to make. If you multiply that by 12, that's your yearly amount. Everybody good?
I'm proud of you.
You did that. There's some extra like steps. All right, so when you're looking at that number and you're thinking about what you wrote down, what are some of the ahas that you're having right now?
I need to do more
Good. You're doing good, but
I need to do more follow-up.
you need to do more follow-up.
That's a big number. That's a big number. No, you don't.
Were any of you surprised by how low the number was?
Yeah.
One person, okay. How
I
many?
was with my monthly, so when you said to multiply that by 1.5, I was like.
1.15.
What, 1.15?
Yeah.
I for sure was like, yeah, I definitely forgot something, yeah.
Yeah. Here's what I want to tell you guys. The first time my husband and I did this exercise, I was 29 turning 30. We went to Boston for my birthday and we got stuck in Boston because of Superstorm Sandy. You guys, I mean, some of you will remember that, right? So I live in Shrewsbury, so I live like literally 20 minutes away from here. And we got stuck. My son Jacob was like 8 years old at the time, and he was at our in-laws. And we call and we're like thinking, oh my gosh, like he's gonna have to stay there. We don't know. And he was like, yeah, I want to stay at Grandma and Pops. Like he's so excited. So then my husband and I were like, screw it, we're stuck. Let's have fun, right? And one of the things that I had in my notebook, this is how we have fun, and I know we're nerds. One of the things that I had in my bag was I had taken a course called Quantum Leap with Mo Anderson, who used to be like the former CEO of Keller Williams. And this exercise was part of Quantum Leap. And at the time, I was an MCA in a market center. My husband was working at Textron in Hunt Valley. So he was doing the whole rabbit, race up and down 83 every day. And Jacob was 8 years old. And we looked up and we were like, dude, we're not living the life that we want to live. We were both commuting 30 minutes to work every day. We weren't spending time, right? We were on this like hamster wheel, and we look up and we're like, what do we want the next 10 years of our life to look like? Where do I want to be when I turn 40 was the question that we were asking at that time. And what I knew was that I did not want to be going up and down 83 for the next 10 years. When I thought about it, it literally made me want to vomit. Like, no, that is not the life that I want to live. And my husband shared something with me in that meeting. He was like, I hate my job. I'm miserable. He's like, I feel sick walking in the door every day. And I didn't know that because he like put on the face and like did the things, and we were, doing the things that we were supposed to do. And we sat down that day and we were like, what do we want to do here? Like, what's this look like? And a couple of years before that, we had started saving money for an investment property. It was something that we were interested in. It was something that was kind of important to us. And at that time, we had been doing that for like 3 or 4 years. So at that time, like we were to the point where like we could start making some big changes in our life. We had some money saved. We knew where we wanted to be. At that point, I also got asked to interview to be the regional MCA of the Greater Pennsylvania region. And at that point in my life, I was like, no, I don't want to rock the boat. Like I'm making really good money, I'm comfortable. But after going through the exercise and doing this, we decided that like, yeah, I was going to take the leap and I was going to do that. And my husband and I made the decision that he would quit his job and we would find another thing for him to do. And at that point, he was going to get into real estate. What we didn't know was that he would do real estate for a few years and then really love the investing side of real estate. So I want to walk you through a little bit of what this looks like for us in real life. I have notes from what we went through. I hope I don't bore the crap out of you guys. But I just want to show you like how this exercise that you just went through literally changed our life and the trajectory of our life, and how I really am going to encourage you guys to go back and give this the time that it needs, because we took 10 minutes, right, to do this. You missed stuff. There's things that are on there. When we went through this exercise and realized how much we were spending and going out to eat every day, like,
Loving.
oh.
They're coming down here.
So bad. All right, so here's what it looked like for us. So when we first started saving for an investment property, it was 2010. I probably can do this fast. It was 2010. At that time, we only had about $500 extra a month that we could put aside that felt like it was comfortable. So on the big life side, right, we had $500 that would go in there. I did that every month for 2010, and I saved $6,000 in a separate bank account. Did the same thing in 2011. Same thing in 2012. And the same thing in 2013. So at that time in a savings account, we had $24,000 that we had put aside to buy our first investment property. We bought a property on Cold Spring Lane in Baltimore, Maryland. Anybody know Cold Spring?
Uh-huh.
Two units, right across from the college. It was a 2-unit home, meaning that it had an apartment upstairs and an apartment downstairs.
Were you in Hamden?
It was not in Hampton. It's not in Hampton. It's not in Hampton. We bought the property for $89,000. We had to put $17,800 down. And we had about $4,000 in closing costs on top of that. So we had to get a mortgage. It was around $72,000 roughly was the mortgage. It's 2 units. So each of those units rent for $1,000 a month. So every month in rent, we get $2,000 from that property. The mortgage is $670. So what we're left over with is $1,330 after we pay our mortgage on that property.
Was
And-
it livable at that price?
Mhm. This is 2013.
It's a different time.
Hell of a turnaround.
Walk me through what we're doing today too. So every month we take $330 and we put it in a reserve account. That's just for that property so that when the asshole tenants move out and I have to go paint or I have to replace a cabinet or whatever else they decide that they've done because they're college kids, right? We learned a lot from this one. We always have, it's almost like a tax account. There's always money set aside for when it turns over, right? We've been lucky. We've had some tenants that were really good. We've had some tenants that I think probably are in jail. Every month in passive income, we have $1,000 that comes into our household from that property. So it took me 4 years saving $500 a month to buy the first property. And I will tell you guys, I literally vomited the night before. Literally was so nervous, like cold sweating. I'm getting ready to take 4 years worth of saving and like not upgrading my house and not buying the more expensive car and all the things, right? I'm literally getting ready to take all of this money and buy a property. And I was like, I was so scared. And my husband, Josh, like you guys will meet him one day, I'm sure. He was like, I'm so excited to spend all of our money. Right. So it was a big deal. And it was one of those things where I was so nervous, but the first month that we got $2,000 to come in and it was like good. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do this again. You know what I mean? So we did it again. But this time it took us a little bit longer. So this was 2013, we bought Cold Spring. So in 2014, now we had a couple of more months of 2013 left, right? And at the end of this, we had about $2,200 left over in the investment account. So 2014 comes around and we're continuing to save the $500 a month. And then we have a year of saving $1,000 a month from this passive income. Because one of the rules that we made was that we would never take money that we generate from a property and spend it on anything else but other properties. That was like our rule going into it. So that we were able to save $18,000 that year. And this was my lesson. What took me 4 years to do, I shrunk 4 years down to 1 year. Took 3 years and shrunk it to 1 year. Because now I saved $18,000 in a year. And it took me 3 years to do that before. And this is where some light bulbs started going off for me, where I was like, money makes you money. Money can make you money if you treat it right. So at the end of 2014, end of the year, in my bank account was $20,200. Now, 2015 came and we were getting close to being able to buy another property. The first couple of months of the year, I continued to do the 500. We still had the 1,000 coming in. So we were able to save another $4,500. and the balance was around 24,700. And at that point, Charles Street in Dallastown came available. So it was a property that our friends were selling. They had to move out of town. He got relocated for a job, and he reached out to us to list his home. And my husband looked at it. He looked at the numbers and he said, "This one might actually be a really good investment property." So we bought Dallastown, Charles Street in Dallastown, for $92,000. Now it's one of those, you guys all know what I'm talking about. It's like one of those homes that's like connected to the other ones and like, right, it's 3 bedrooms, standard bathroom, like the one really small bedroom, right? Like that's this house, but it was in really good condition. We had to put $18,400 down. Again, about $4,000 in closing costs. Mortgage $73,600. The mortgage so $650 a month. Every month we have that one rented for $1,200. So when you take the $650 off, it's $550 in passive income. And then $200 for that one goes into a reserve account. So we have around $300 a month that goes into our investment account off of the Dallastown property.
Can I ask a question? So what do you do about like the utilities and stuff?
The tenants pay the utilities.
But like water and sewer as well?
Tenants pay the utilities.
Do you add that into your rent?
They pay it separately.
Because some places make you put it in your name.
Yeah,
The owners.
we just give them the bill and they pay it.
Okay.
And we have a reserve account for when asshole tenants don't do what they're supposed to do. Sorry, I have a potty mouth. All right, so 2015 comes. I'm not gonna draw it all out for you. The rest of 2015 hits. We had $500 a month that I continue to save. I still do that to this day, by the way. It's like one of the first bills that I pay every month is to myself into my investment account. We have $1,000 a month that comes in from Cold Spring. And now we have about $300 a month that comes in from Dallastown property number 1. So at the end of the year, we had $15,300 come in that way. I had $2,300 in the bank account. So I had $17,600 at the end of 2015. The money keeps going faster now, right? So now it only took me a year to get back to that point. 2016 came, we were ready to buy another property, and this time we bought another property in Dallastown on Frederick Street. Same deal, 3 bedrooms, really one small, 1 bathroom, right? We bought that one for $99,000. We put $19,800 down, and the mortgage is $690. That one also rents for $1,200 a month. So again, $300 in passive income from that property. 2016 and 17 come, and now we're like, oh crap, we have like 4 tenants, all these properties, all this stuff, and we had a whole bunch of stuff happen at one time. We had a tenant who got stage 4 breast cancer. She ended up passing away. They didn't pay rent for 6 months. We had Frederick Street number 1, crazy lady, ended up on Route 30, running down Route 30 with blue socks on and nothing else. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happened. Like, I'm just telling you guys the real truth here. Like,
I love her color choice.
it's blue socks. Bright blue socks is what you can look it
You
up.
don't want to be hit by a car. I mean,
Look,
it's gotta be
just
bright.
Your daily record, blue sock lady running down Route 30. It's there. That was my tenant. Such a proud moment. So we had to evict her, right? 'Cause she's literally like in jail. So 2016, 17 was like a little bit of a crazy, like, and my husband and I had some real evaluation to do. We're like, is this something that we really want to do? Right? We said, sure, let's keep going. So 2018 comes. By this point, we haven't bought a property for a year. So this bank account is just growing, right? It's just growing. We got to a point, it was at the beginning of 2019. In that bank account was $68,000. And my husband was so itchy about what to do with this money. He was like dying. He's like, we could have had 3 properties by now. Like, what are we doing? Like, we just sell everything. Like, this is Josh, right? Like, he was putting some pressure on the situation. Let's just put it that way. Our neighbor at Frederick Street calls Josh and says, so Frederick Street's connected, it's a duplex. The neighbor that lives next door calls Josh and says, hey, like, I know that you rent this one next door to me. I'm thinking about either like selling the house or possibly renting it. I don't know what my options are. So Josh went out and met him and offered him a deal. So this is what we did. The property that we had $63,900. And the property at that time when we were doing the evaluation was around $95,000 is what we thought that if we listed it, we could sell it for. Now, he would have had all kinds of expenses and all the stuff to sell it. So Josh walked him through the numbers and he said, listen, if I can offer you 84,000 cash and you can close in 2 weeks, would you take it? And the guy said, yes, I would take it. So we made an all cash offer. We had 60 some $1,000s in our account. We gave ourselves a personal loan to our business for the remaining part, and we were able to buy that property on Frederick Street 100% mortgage free. And we were able to close in 2 weeks. That was on Valentine's Day, 2019. The reason why that day is so important to me is because it was on that day where we generated enough money and passive income to pay those basic bills that we had every month. So that was the day that you can say like you became financially free. My day of financial freedom was Valentine's Day of 2019. It was a really awesome day. It was awesome. And I was really proud of what we did. It took us 8 years to get there, right? 9 years to get there. And the reason why I say this to you guys right now is because you are 5 years away from living any kind of life that you want. We took the long way around, right? Like we took years off, like we had tenants, like we learned a lot through the process, but after 5 years, we got there. Now, what happened in 2020? COVID. Was anybody spending any money during COVID? Or we just like all like stockpiling it, thinking that our tenants weren't going to pay rent and like we were going to lose our shirts, right? We took a more proactive approach and reached out to all of our tenants, helped them get money. We sat on the porch with one lady and helped her apply for unemployment. Like we did everything that we needed to do to serve them in that moment so that we could make sure and guarantee that our rent was still going to get paid and that we weren't going to get ourselves into a situation where, we had reserves and we felt good about it, but it's also scary when you have mortgages and you're not sure if they're going to pay their rent or not, right? So we saved money in 2020. And at the end of 2020 in our investment account, we saved money in 19 and 20. At the end of 2020, I pulled the numbers today. We had around $72,000 in that account. Now, what happened in 2021?
It's all a blur. I don't remember.
Crazy. Nothing was listed, inventory was low, y'all were like crazy deals, right? Like it was insane. And Josh and I were like, how do we have to address our strategy now in order to continue to grow the life that we want to grow? Because we have these passive income goals and like, how is this going to work? So in March of 2021, we bought this place. Oh my gosh, we bought this place in Glen Rock that literally, like if you looked up, you could see the sky. Like it needed a whole new roof. It needed all new electrical. We moved the kitchen because the kitchen was on the back of the house. We had to move the kitchen to the center of the house. It was like a complete rehab gut job. We bought the place for 40 grand. So we were like, all right, we're going to go in 40 grand. And then as long as it takes us to fix the place up, as long as the roof is there, we get new electrical and new plumbing. Like we felt like we could take as long as we wanted because we didn't have a mortgage on it, right? It's like, the 40 grand can either sit in that bank account or it can sit in this bank account. That's kind of what we did. And we used that year to generate use our own money and the money that we were generating from our properties to fix up that house. By the way, that's something called an Augusta rule. So if you don't know what the Augusta rule is, it's a tax saving strategy as well. So we did that at the end of the year. We value that place in Glen Rock right now. All in, we were 95 grand, right? So with the repairs, the new roof, all the things, we were all in at 95 grand. I would value that place in Glen Rock right now, probably 140. If I listed it, I'd probably get multiple deals tomorrow because we did an amazing job on the rehab. Just saying. at the same time that year, life circumstances changed. I started making more money in other areas of my life. And my sister hit a spot where she needed to move out of her house. She had her third child. They were in a 2-bedroom apartment. They needed to move out, and there was no rentals in our area. She lives in Southern York County, but there was a house for sale that would be perfect for her. She just financially couldn't do it herself. So I kind of stalked this house. And when I realized it was on like all of the like realtor.coms and everything, but it wasn't showing up on the MLS. And it was because it was listed by a state college PA broker. So it was on their MLS, but not ours. I was like, people think this house is sold. Like they think it's sold. And they were the most ridiculous people to try to get a hold of. Like they would not answer calls, but I stalked them. I called every single day until someone finally let me in to go see this house. And come to find out, it was listed at the time for like $135. And I was like, yeah, there's no way I'd pay $135, but I'll pay $99. So we were an all cash offer, just thinking like, let's just like wet the paper towel and throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. My nephew did that in school last week. That's why it's telling you this.
Where did that analogy?
My nephew last week in his football team wet paper towels and threw them against the wall. And I had to have a conversation with him this week about how that's not appropriate. She was gonna laugh. So that's my life. So we call this person, we see it, it's a perfect house. We put an all cash offer in for $99,000, and my sister lives in that house today. And that's her house now that we have a agreement with the month she can pay for rent that she can afford. And it just felt really good to be able to do that for someone in my life. So it's not just about building passive income for us anymore. It's about the legacy, the things that we're able to do for the people that we love and care about. And so I walked you through this whole long story, you guys, not to like in any way, shape, or form. I hope you don't walk away with like, I'm trying to brag to you. This is actually really uncomfortable for me to do. But I feel like sometimes hearing these stories can help put some perspective in why what we do matters and the things that we do matter, right? And what we do with the money that we make matters. So if this is something that you're interested in, this is where I got a lot of the strategies that I use, this Millionaire Real Estate book, Real Estate Agent. There's also another book called Hold. That's a good one for you guys to look at. So yeah.
When you were saving the money, was it just in a average savings account or was it in a high yield interest?
I did not make it more complicated on myself than I needed to. And I wanted the money to be safe. So I just put it in a regular standard savings account.
Okay.
Again, that was just how we decided to do it. Like, if you can get you can probably get a higher interest rate now if you put it into a CD for a couple of years. But we just put it in a regular account. Any other questions on any of this? So it's about living a big life. So the aha should be, go back and do that exercise, right? Go back and do that exercise.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
You manage all those yourself then, like
Yep.
the income and stuff like that. Like, how do you collect the rentals?
Yes, that's a really great question, Dina.
My brother does it and he literally goes door to door for all his rentals.
No,
And
we
he's
don't do
up
that.
to like 8 units now. He is just, he's like weird about his money and he's good with his money. But I was like, I could never.
No. So part of our early journey was Josh getting into real estate. He still has his real estate license, but he does not actively sell real estate anymore. He's we call him our asset manager.
Okay.
Because he wanted a fancy title. So. Procrastination sounds great. Stay-at-home dad didn't work either because Jacob's not there anymore. So it's like, I'm a stay-at-home dog dad. Like, that doesn't work. He manages all of that stuff for us now.
Okay.
So we have tenants that pay through Venmo, check, any different way that they want to.
You just transfer everything through that account.
Yep, it all goes into the investment account.
Okay.
Yep.
There's some free property management software out there too. That's pretty good.
The one that I think he's using right now, he's changed it a couple of times. I think it's called Azibo,
Okay.
AZIBO. And people can actually pay you through that as well.
Oh, okay.
And it tracks everything. So I think that's the one he's using now for that. He's changed it a couple of times just based on like technology increases or updates, and he doesn't like what they do, so he'll go and find a new one. We try to keep that expense pretty low though.
I like Rent Ready.
Rent Ready?
RENTREDI. It's
Okay.
$20 a month.
Cool.
Really easy to use.
That's awesome.
Take
And they can
credit
pay you, they can pay you through that
All
too.
through credit card.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Cool. All right, page 12 of your, this is just a recap real quick. Page 12 of your manual walks you through the MRE economic model. So Ryan taught us this earlier today. You have your 30% cost of sales, your 30% operating expenses, and what's left over is your profit. You want to get you to a 40% profit margin. The cash flow gain. So in most businesses, it looks like this. You have income that comes in, expenses that go out, and what's left over is profit. But what we are talking about today is actually looking at this in reverse. So what we did today was we figured out what your number is, what was your goal, and now we're going to back into how much income do you have to have, and what does those expenses need to look like in order for you to reach the profit that you want. So we call this the profit first model. There is a book called Profit First. That's a really good, easy, super easy read. Like you can read it in like a weekend. So Profit First is a really good book for that. So again, what goes in? We've got on your page 14, this is the commissions that you're earning. Now it says 3%. These slides are from 2019. I think 3% might be too high. Whatever that number looks like for you. And then you're going to have income that comes in a couple of different ways. When you list a house and sell it, that's your listing income. Sales income is what you get from your buyer sides. So when you see sales income, that's from buyer sides, referrals, and then leasing and other income from that way. So when you're digging into your cost of sales, so this is actually the cost of making a sale. So the definition for you there on your page 15 is your cost of sale is what you're paying in commissions to your office, any royalty fees. If you are growing a team and you're paying commission splits, or you have employees, independent contractors that are involved in that sale, that will also be considered part of your cost of sale. And then any referral fees that you have to make. So that's going to be your cost of sale. And at the bottom of page 15, it talks about how to calculate what your cost of sales if you have not capped on company dollar and royalty. So in this example, they use the office split of 30%. So they're saying, okay, if you have a $9,000 deal and you subtract out 30%, and then you subtract out 6% off of that $9,000, that's how you're going to figure out how much your check's going to be. So if you have the 9,000, 30% of that's 2,700, that's going to be your company dollar contribution. And then 540 of that is going to be your royalty contribution. So what's left over is that $5,760. So that's how our offices figure out how much your net of that is going to be. Now, if you've capped on royalty but have not capped on company dollar, it's always going to be off of that $9,000. So you're going to have your $9,000 minus your cap, and then that's all that's coming out. You'll be bumped to $6,300. And you hit your royalty limit when your gross commission income is $50,000 a year. That's when you'll cap on royalty and gross commission income. That's how that works out. And when you've capped on both, you get the whole thing. Woohoo! Just like Lori. Woohoo! All right. Operating expenses. Let's go forward. And let's get a page. I think it's in your manual. 16. Operating expenses. So when you're running your business, these are going to be the actual expenses to run your business, or cash that's leaving your business and paying for other things. So you've got your rent. If you rent an office space, You got some auto expense, salaries, professional services, marketing, equipment, education, all of those expenses that are part of you running your business. These expenses incur whether or not you have a sale or not, right? So you're still going to be responsible for these if you have a sale or if you don't have a sale. So earlier today, you figured out what your profit goal was or what your big Y number that you wanted to have. So we've already done that part. On the next page, on page 17, it walks you through an activity on how much you would actually have to generate in order to hit your big Y goal. So let's just say that your goal is $250,000. The first thing that you're going to want to figure out is how much in gross profit or how much profit are you going to have to make in order to hit $250 net income? Because remember, the number that you guys walk through is how much you have to take home, right? That's not how much you have to make. That's how much you actually have to take home and keep in order to live that life. So if your net profit goal is 250, at least you have to pay taxes. So you would have to make 416,000 in order to net 250 if you're at a 40% tax bracket. And then because we know that cost of sales and all the other things need to be added in, this is saying that you would have to make $1 million in gross commission income to net 250,000.
We've got this.
You got it.
We've got it.
No big deal.
We've got it.
This is what I'm going to tell you guys. I've walked a lot of people through these numbers over the years. And the biggest area for a solo agent, the biggest area that I see is that the cost of sales tends to be high if you're a solo agent, right? So if you're a solo agent, your cost of sale is generally just what you have to pay for your pay to your office for your split and your cap, right? And then that's going to cap every year. So that's going to be much less than what you would actually have to generate. Now, on the team side, getting to a 30% cost of sale is actually really aggressive because you have agents on your team that are going to be on certain splits. So that's where like the defining line I see a lot comes into play is that it really depends on how your team is set up. So if you have team members that are on a 50-50 with you, then you're going to get a little bit more. But if you have team members that are on higher splits, that's where it's really going to affect you a lot. So in this scenario, I don't want anybody's brain to explode. In this scenario, if you took your GCI and divided it by your average commission, you would have to sell 139 homes. And then you can work backwards. What your anticipated cost of sale would be, and then how much your operating expenses could be. Again, 312,000 for a team, like a small individual person. Like if you're spending $312,000, you better be making $1 million. I don't think most of us would have $312,000 worth of expenses in our operating budget. Anything to add to that? All right, let's talk about your financial team. And we are going to go to page 20. So here's what I'll tell you guys. Your market center is one part of your financial team, right? You've got Ryan, you've got Aaron, you've got Rachel, you've got Jen. They're all part of your financial team on the market center side of things. They're here to help you increase your sales, maybe give you some investing advice, help you manage the day-to-day flow of your business. So you've got part of your financial team already in place by choosing KW, which you chose right? And then the other part of your financial team is going to come in the form of additional professional people, right? Who are doing this the same way that you are, right? They're growing businesses that they can one day sell, right? And so you're going to be looking for an accountant or a bookkeeper, a CPA, a banker, an attorney, an insurance agent, a financial planner, or a coach. And so when you're thinking about building out your financial team, these are all of the people in the next couple of pages give you some good advice on who those people could be. in your world and what you're looking for. So I'm not gonna read the next couple of pages for you, but they are there for you to reference. So a type of accounting software that you might want to use, accountant, bookkeeper, what they do, and what you're looking for in all of those different roles. So the next couple of pages are that for you. Now, when we talk about your banking, so let's go to your bank situation. So we talked about this earlier, and we talked about having a financially sound business and all of the different bank accounts that you will need to have set up. So this is just recap. So it's saying a business checking account, that's where you're going to pay your bills, business savings, and business credit card. Y'all, stop mixing your personal expenses with your business expenses. Stop it. Stop. Even if it's you have two, stop it. Go to Members First and open up a business bank account. Even if it's not a business bank, keep it separate, right? So you've got business checking, business savings, and a business credit card, right? Keep those things separate. Even if it's just that you have an American Express and a Bank of America, and your American Express is what you're going to use for business expenses, and your Bank of America is what you're going to use for your personal expenses. Just keep them separate, right? Again, remember, why is this important, what I'm saying right now?
In case you get audited.
In case you get audited, you don't want to go to jail or have to pay more in expenses that you need to. Why
I
is this-
revert back to what I said before. Who wants to do the math every time you want to spend $1? You never genuinely know what you have for that money unless it's set aside. So if I know exactly where my tax dollars are, I know exactly where my marketing dollars are, my expenses for the business.
Yep.
And then I also know how much extra I have if I want to have a new marketing venture or whatever.
Right.
It's all already there. I just go to my link and see how much money I have.
Yep. So that's a really big reason, right? It's leverage. But what are we creating?
Simplicity for the accountant.
That. How did I start class today? How did I tell you I was going to talk to you?
Business owner.
The business owner. Do you think when you go to your doctor's office that your doctor's paying for the expenses of the practice that they're running through their personal bank account?
I hope not.
Really hope not. Right? Do you think your accountant does that? They're like, oh, I gotta pay for this, like, whatever, I'm just gonna put it on my, my regular credit card and just take care of it. Why are you treating yourself any different? Why would you hold yourself to a different standard than you would hold any other professional to? That's number one, right? Number two, you're building an asset that you can one day sell. So this is what people are gonna do when they're evaluating your business if they wanna buy it from you. They're gonna ask you for the last 3 years of your balance sheet and bank statements that back that up. When we do due diligence, when we're buying companies, the very first thing that we say is, we want all of these reports and I want the proof. I want to see that this bank statement, I want to see your bank reconciliations, I want to see all of these things, right? I want to see proof that what you were putting on your balance sheet is actually what's in the bank, right? Yeah.
My dad's buying a plumbing business right now, and they asked for the statements and they realized how shady the business was with their spending. It wasn't backing up or proving with what they were actually spending their money on.
Yeah. So what does that make your dad feel like going in to buy this business? Yeah, because they don't really actually know what the expenses of the business are, right? So when you're thinking about this, this is something, again, like, what's your like, I'm out of here number, right? How much do you have to have in passive income? How much do you have to have in the bank, in your 401k, to be like, peace out, Ryan, hire someone else to run this business. He just has been quiet for a while. Right?
8 and it's like 1:30 and cat.
Go get it. So that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, I want to teach you guys how to actually build a business that you can sell one day. So keeping all of those things separate is really important. Now, on top of that, you're gonna have your tax savings account, which we've already talked about, and then you're gonna have all of your own personal bank accounts the same way. And I literally, this is like my life and how it's set up. Like, we actually have 2 separate banks because I wanted to keep it that separate. So I log in, we have M&T for business and I have Tower Federal Credit Union for personal. Like, that's how separate it is, because I don't want any kind, like, it's hard to move money from one bank to another bank. Like, there's extra steps, right? So I like, even, it's 2 separate banks. So when I like log in as Tower Federal, I'm like in like Michele McBride, like personal mode. When I log into the business, I'm in McBride Holdings mode, right? It's like, it's a separate like psychological thing for me. Do whatever you need to do, use the same bank if you want to use the same bank, but set up the bank accounts the way that you need to, so that you can actually run your business the way that you need to.
So I'm really good with all the bank accounts, like all of that is set up, and in our family, we have, like, my husband has his own bank accounts and we're all on it jointly, but like, I don't mess with his stuff and he doesn't mess with my stuff, although we could. I'm terrible with the credit card because we are like so addicted to credit card points, because then we get to vacation for free.
Oh, I can give you a solution for that.
And that's like our struggle. So like that credit card is not only do I like buy my staple stuff on that credit card. Don't stare at me. But my husband like puts all his gas on that same credit card. Like, it's, so the credit card bill is like.
The Capital One Venture will allow you to transfer your points to any other credit cards you have.
Well, not just that, if you're like I have Chase Personal and I have Chase Business. The points all go into
Yeah.
one thing. So all my Southwest points go from my business and from my personal expenses, but I keep them separate.
Because that's our monster right now.
Yeah.
And every time
No,
we look at each other, we're
I
like, we
get
need to do something about this. We're like, yeah, we know.
I just discovered this last year. I was
Yeah.
messing the 2 of them together and I'm like, I'm not the only monster running around like this. Like,
Yeah.
there's gotta be some,
Yeah.
The one credit card I was actually using does it for me, so.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, well, I'll open up another one.
I have Chase and Capital Venture. So
I actually get better points, better rewards from my business credit card than my personal.
I just want all of the points.
You can have,
You can have them all. Of 5. Do you know how expensive it is to fly to Montana with a family of 5?
But I'm just saying, if you look into it,
A lot of points.
you know, I mean, honestly, everything I do is because of this class.
Yeah.
The first time I took it. And at first, when I looked at that and she was talking about it, I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. But now it makes my life so easy.
Yep. The credit card's a big deal, and I think here's the other thing. If you are only using your business credit, right, on the business side of things, it's gonna keep you from making really bad decisions as well. So when the income does drop or things do happen, you're not bleeding your personal life for your business life. It's almost like you have to separate the 2 and really look at the business as a completely separate entity of yourself. And it can't be hooked up to an umbilical cord of your personal life, because you don't want your personal life to suffer because your business is doing that. That's the number 1 sign of being a poor business owner, right? Is that your personal life ends up suffering. You end up draining. You hear
Well,
these
you're
stories.
funding a failing business at that.
Right, you hear these stories, right, of like people going bankrupt, where if they had separate things, you would have had to cut that off way sooner than just allowing your personal life to get so affected because of business and how it's going. So it's just something to really keep in mind. Yeah.
Can I ask you a personal question, just the way that you're running this? Do you now pay yourself a paycheck out of this, or are you just now still holding that money for the future to pay yourself?
So that's a great question. We don't pay ourselves a paycheck out of this. We're still in acquiring mode. We will get to a point where we're not acquiring properties anymore. At that point, we will start treating that money differently. But for us right now, because we're still in acquiring mode, and the rule that we made for ourselves is that we would never take money out of here for our personal gain, or personal life. So this is a completely separate thing that the money just goes in and just keeps recycling.
But the point of it is to eventually be free and clear and then allow it to pay you. Right?
Yeah. So for example, like right now, I ran the numbers this morning. Right now, with all the passive incomes, like all the passive income coming in from the rentals, if I just paid the mortgages and kept the reserve accounts going, I would have $75,600 a year that I could live off of.
Okay.
That's not enough for us right now, where we're at in our lives, but at one point, I'm hoping that number's around 200,000, and when that number gets to 200,000, I know that like, I can be like, peace out everything and be 100% fine.
Okay.
Right? So that's just kind of where we're at. So right now, that 75,000 a year is just helping us buy more property.
Right. Okay.
We're not using that for that, but at one point, at some point, that money, that 75 grand a year will become our income.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I have a question. You were saying about like getting two separate accounts because it's harder to pay from one bank to another. Then you also said like we get our paycheck, pay our business account, and then take that out of it. So how do you? So like,
No, just the rental income.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
just the rental income goes there. My paycheck goes to Tower Federal.
Okay, so but like us as an agent, like when we get a paycheck and separate it into all these accounts.
If you're gonna do, if this is your investment account, you should have another account that's just an investment account. This is a completely separate, so this is like, this is you running your business, right? This is you running your sales business.
Okay.
If one of your goals is to take this money and like, and set aside other money, I would.
That's where you separate, got a different.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think if you're looking at it from a real estate agent mindset and not a rental investment and mindset.
Well, I gotta
You're
start
taking
from the
your check,
beginning.
yeah, you're taking
Yeah.
your check, your commission check, and
Yeah.
you're putting that in your business account, and you're stripping yourself, your check.
Right.
For whatever the percentages that you're supposed to keep for yourself, and you're depositing that into your personal account.
And I do that as a draw.
Okay, but is it, I mean, is it two separate banks, like? that you're
It's
doing that?
two
It is?
separate accounts. So I have my LLC, the money comes into that,
Mhm.
and then I pull it as a draw monthly for that. I pay myself.
There's different ways you can do it, Dana, whatever.
I've been
you're-
doing something similar, but it's messy, and
Yeah.
this is what I need to clean it up.
Yeah, so I think that like, if this is something that you want or interested in, I'll look for your account with you and just
Yeah.
tell you what I think you should do. That's helpful.
Well, I just started coaching too, so that's
Great.
helping too.
You're
So,
helping
yeah,
too.
yeah.
For me, keeping it as separated as possible, just give me clarity and then. from
That's what I don't, I
clarity,
have 3 accounts, which doesn't seem to be enough.
No, I think you definitely need more than 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I am not a CPA. I am not an attorney. I am not a financial planner. I do not hold any of those licenses. I'm an entrepreneur who has bought investment properties and following my own model of how I do this. Where I get the disclaimer. I am not here to give you tax advice. I am not here to give you financial planning advice. I am not here to do any of those things. I'm going to guide you through what Keller Williams says you should do. And then you're going to go talk to an attorney, a tax advisor, whoever you need to help you make the best decision for yourself. Everybody clear on that? I don't want to like end up getting sued one day because I told you to do something and it wasn't the right thing. All right, so this is an important piece. So when you're setting up a business that you can one day sell, you're going to choose the type of business entity that you're going to run your business under. So most of your tax advisors will say you can just run it as a sole proprietorship, or you can just run it under yourself personally. Because there's no difference between that and having an LLC if you own 100% of it. The distinction that your accountant doesn't know is that you want to build a business that you can sell one day. And if you're selling a business, you are going to sell an entity. You're going to sell an LLC, you're going to sell a partnership, you're going to sell something like that. So you have to make sure that whoever you're advising with, they know that piece of it so they can give you the right advice. Because they'll say, you don't want to have to like do 2 separate like tax returns and create all this and like that. You don't need to do that. You're a real estate agent. You can just run it through yourself personally. What they don't know is that you're a real estate business owner and you're trying to create an entity that you can sell. I keep saying this over and over and over again, because I hope that you guys walk away from this when you talk to these advisors, that this is what you're trying to set up. So you've got a couple of different options here. I want to walk you through them really quick. So on page 25, it says, important. Consult your tax advisor or your attorney when choosing a business entity, preferably one who understands real estate businesses. Okay, disclaimer again. All right, so sole proprietorship, this is one where the owner receives all of the profit and taxes and has responsibility for all the losses and debts. The business income and expenses are reported on a Schedule C as a personal income tax return. So that's how most of the accountants will say, this is just fine for you. And it technically is, unless you're trying to sell a business one day. A partnership is common in real estate businesses. They're usually easy to form. And partners are, like, if this is like, Dana and Roxanne are gonna do a partnership, right? You guys are just gonna have like your income come in, gross commission income, you're gonna share all that, but then you're both gonna report on your personal income statements. Like your personal income, that's your income. It's kind of like a sole proprietorship with one other person, but you're only reporting your piece. LLC. Now this is where you're going to start to create a corporate structure around your business. So on page 26, LLC, it says it combines the structure of a corporation with a partnership. The company can be owned by one person or two people. It provides limited liability and some tax advantages. And you create your LLC by filing documents with your state. So if you're not comfortable, if you haven't set up an LLC yet, and this is something that you want to do, you can pull all of the documents from the Department of the State and do this yourself. Or an attorney can set one up for you for like, I think it's like $300. It's not an expensive thing to do. They do them all the time, so they'll probably do it right and not like me the first time I try to do it. So here's LLC. It shields your personal assets. There's no commingling of business and personal, Aaron. Owners of LLC in some cases are not personally responsible for business debts. Flexible tax reporting, insurance costs could be less. Options to raise money for the business by selling shares. Option to be taxed like a sole proprietor or a corporation. And then it may increase your professional image, leading to new clientele. A corporation is on page 27. And you've got a couple of different options if you decide to go down that route. So you've got your S Corp, which is a pass-through entity, meaning that your business itself is not going to be taxed. You're still going to pay your personal taxes on that. And you can be treated as employees with a salary. Or a C Corp. A C Corp is when the corporation actually pays taxes. So you'll hear different options. You'll be like, I'm an LLC getting taxed as an S Corp, or I'm an LLC getting taxed as a C Corp. That's what this is talking about. So just think C Corp is like the corporation pays taxes, right? The corporation pays taxes. S Corp, you're responsible for those taxes. That's kind of like a quick and easy way to remember that. This is something that you guys will have to work with your accountants on, especially if you're in a situation where you have partners or there's other people that might have ownership in this. That's on you guys to go and do. And depending on the structure of your business entity, your attorney and your accountant can guide you in the right way. Do that. All right, page 29. We're gonna do a quick little take action exercise. So on page 29, so the bottom line, you're going to get your financial team in order. You're going to set up your bank accounts, and then you're going to time block. So you're going to time block time to go back and do the original exercise. You're going to probably want to schedule just for yourself, I would say 3 or 4 hours. It doesn't have to be all at one time, but maybe over the next couple of weeks, like every Wednesday, you take a half an hour, every Thursday, you take an hour. and set that aside to work on your business, not in your business. So any ahas or action items that you want to do, write those down on that page so you can go back to it.
Yeah.
Guys, let's fly through some tax stuff real quick. So I want to get to a point where.
Yes.
You know. How's it going so far? You guys good?
Yes.
Good content?
Yep. Sad. I wrote all that down.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so let's do a quick check-in. How are you guys feeling so far? Is the pace going okay? I feel like the content's coming quick enough because I can speed up if you need me to. Any questions that are unresolved or things that you want to make sure to close the loop on before we move into the next portion? Everybody feel good? Okay. All right, let's talk about concrete taxes.
That what everybody wants.
The ones that really care about. All of the boys left when I asked them to talk, like, to write down their personal expenses. It was really funny. I was like, they don't know. Not all of the boys, the good ones. Sorry. Not you either.
There's probably all the guys that take care of themselves.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the
Had to
ones
go color one.
that were on their first slide that got the money in the wallet and spent it.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know what's funny. She's gonna make me say my number. All right, let's talk about taxes real quick. It says the big lie on page 32. We all know that taxes are due on April 15th, right? Not true for business owners like you. April 15th is a date of reconciliation and documentation, what you've done throughout the year, but there's actually 4 times a year that your estimated taxes are due. So on your page 32, you've got your estimated taxes due from January 1st to March 31st. They're due April 15th, just like all the other reconciliation time. Then you've got your quarterly taxes that are due, and then your due dates are listed out there for you as well. So just making sure you guys write those down, that you're aware of them. You can face pretty harsh penalties if you know, if you go too long without paying them. So just make sure that you're part of that. It's my favorite thing to do every quarter.
When you say harsh penalties, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we define that for
Yeah.
a minute? Is it more than the interest-free loan the government is getting?
I tell everybody, my accountant knows it. He even as an accountant says he does the same thing. He tells you should pay quarterly, you should pay quarterly. I pay the penalty every year.
So do I.
Because I like my money in my account and I pay, and I know it's stupid because I can take that penalty money and use it for something else, and you probably cringe. And
Percentage. So I grew real fast from 2020 to 2021, as a lot of it did, but I went from like 2.1 million in sales volume to $50,000 shy of 8 million. So in that year,
Nobody
I
likes a bragger,
didn't,
Aaron.
well, I didn't know, like, I paid, but my accountant told me to pay. He told me to pay based on what I made in 2020. So when I went to reconcile at the end of 2021, I had not paid enough throughout the year, and my penalty was close to $6,000.
what?
What? When you say penalty, do you mean a deficiency in your
No,
payment or the
I
penalty?
paid my
Oh,
thing,
second.
and then, well, I had a big fight with my tax accountant about it.
pay-
And they circled back
I
around.
pay my penalty every year and it's a couple $100.
Yeah, that's how I.
Well, the penalty was like $900, but then they charged me interest. Because based on my 2020 sales, I only had to pay $1,600 a quarter. But I went from making 2 million in sales to 8 million, and that is a big difference in your gross commission.
Right.
Like, so that difference I paid at the end of the year, but because I paid it past the January 15th date, I had to pay a percentage penalty, and it was pretty.
Oh, you pay
expensive.
half the,
Yeah,
half the 15th. Oh,
Yeah.
and I just pay on the 15th.
Yeah.
And I pay the
it's like
penalty, which is a
usually
couple $100.
$900, yeah.
Well, I didn't pay before the 15th.
So, but be careful. And then we fired that tax accountant and got a new one. It was also a financial planner and helped us with our investment account. And set up an IRA under my LLC, so it can do retirement as well. So.
April 15th, not January.
Last
You
year,
have to
January
pay the bill
15th.
by January
15th.
15th, and then you have until April to reconcile. But if she's not paying that on January 15th, she hasn't paid her taxes for that year.
So
Right,
they
so
charge you
now
interest.
you're late paying your fee, so she's gonna get late, then interest, and
Yeah.
then,
Yeah,
right, and then if you don't reconcile by April 15th, which. I don't know what you guys did, but there's other penalties.
She said, I don't know how I got there.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Then your first quarter is due on April
15th
fifteenth
as
too.
well.
Mhm.
Right, so April is like a double whammy, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So last year, my accountant says you can set it up so they're automatically taken out of your account every quarter. And I said, okay, and then once I did that, you can't change it, but it like freaked me out, but it actually ended up working out really well because I made sure that tax money was in that account. And I won't hit the penalty or anything.
Yeah, so, don't hire Aaron's tax. boss.
I was just.
We did, actually, 3 of us from the KW office fired him that year. He screwed up everybody's.
It's really important to talk to an attorney when you talk to an accountant, because I hired an accountant without talking to an attorney. My 21 taxes were a nightmare.
Got to start there.
My 22 taxes are probably not gonna be great either, because it took me till the end of 22 to realize what was going on. The $300 I spent for an hour and a half with an attorney to talk through S Corp LLC tax, it was a tax attorney,
Yeah.
was worth every penny, every penny.
That's on my list. Who did you go through?
Well, I live in northern York County, so I went to Attorney Geis in Camp Hill, but I'm sure there's somebody down here in York.
My attorney's in Philly.
I think that if you haven't talked to
You
an attorney about this,
You should.
schedule like an hour, 2 hour long meeting and pay the $300 to $600 so it doesn't cost you $6,000.
And it's a real estate attorney.
Yeah.
Attorney.
Real estate tax attorney. We want to talk about a tax attorney.
Tax
Yeah.
attorney, and then run that by your accountant and run by your accountant back to your tax attorney.
Yeah,
and
'cause they
decide whether or
disagree.
not S Corp or C
Yep.
Corp or LLC is best for you.
So we actually Josh and I went through something, we didn't have to pay what Aaron had to pay, but when I started making money a whole bunch of different ways and like all at one time, it was like, money just started like, it was like this money and this, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So I actually scheduled an appointment for the tax attorney, the accountant, and us to all be on the same meeting, and we used Zoom. And I was like,
like a UFC fight? Ding, ding.
Kind of, because like I was like, you two need to be, I was like, I didn't take up any on me, I just made them do it. I was like, you two need to figure this out. Like, I don't want to be bickering and I'm not getting in the middle of you, so figure it out.
Because they don't agree.
They don't.
They don't.
But I was like, these are the things that are important to me. This is what I want to make sure is done. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to, right? Like, I don't want to spend money that I don't need to spend. And so I asked them to meet separately because I was like getting a headache.
And if you can find a tax shelter somewhere and all.
I was like, this is not something that I want to be part of. And I think that it's okay for you to say, this is not something I want to be part of. And it was like a $3,000 thing all total for them to do it. But then now they're on the same page. And so when they're looking at our stuff, I'm like, well, what did Don say about it? Right? What did Phil say about it? And they're just my team now. I don't have to worry about being the middleman because I'm not good at being the middleman. Like, I know that about myself. Like, I'm really good at running teams, so that's just the way that I run it. I'm like, you guys need to figure this out. Oh, I don't know. Tell me how much the check needs to be. Okay, so everybody good? I'm gonna pay a couple $100 and go talk to someone. Okay, good. It's like therapy, right? It's like all right, so you're gonna pay your quarterly taxes on time, and on page 33, it just walks you through some of the things that your taxes will be based off of, and then estimate how much you're gonna pay. It talks about penalties and extensions. There's different types of taxes that you have to be aware of. You've got your income tax, self-employment, and employment taxes, and then we have our federal taxes, our state taxes, our local taxes, right? All of those other taxes that we also have to pay. On page 35, it talks more about taxes. Your self-employment tax, and then annual tax forms. As a business owner or as someone who is in real estate, I highly recommend that you do not do your own taxes. I know TurboTax makes it sound easy.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Get that extra layer of protection, have somebody else in your corner, make sure that you have someone else's eyes on that. And handle it that way. I think telling you the tax forms is actually really dangerous. I've actually asked them to take that out of this course. Like, they don't need to know that. Tell them just go talk to an accountant. All right.
Is that 15.3% pretty accurate for the self-employment tax, or is this like going back a couple of years?
It's going back, it's from 2019, so it's going back a couple of years. Yep.
I was just curious.
It's correct.
Is it correct?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the number. I don't want to know that number. I want somebody else to know that number. I know that sounds like, I know how that sounds. I know how that's coming across. But like, I feel like if I get too involved in it, I know myself, I want to take over and like manage it, and I can't manage it anymore. Like, I need someone else to do that for me.
The 15.3 is your social security. It's it's like if you had a job, you would pay half of it, your employer would pay the other half.
Right.
So it's always been.
I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yep. Okay, deductions and credits. So this is like, this should seem pretty simple to you guys, but deductions reduce your tax liability and credits increase your tax liability or reduce your tax directly. So credits are benefits offered by either the IRS or state and local government. And there's a way that your tax attorney and people who are going to help you with that will know what are deductions versus what are credits. Deductions come from legitimate business expenses, and the IRS is going to allow you to write off certain things. And this is why keeping your business expenses separate from your personal expenses will help your life be so much easier, because it'll be really clear on how much money you spent on different things, right? if you start commingling it with your personal, it gets really, really sticky. To say, yeah, this was a business expense and this wasn't, and then if you ever got audited, which I've gotten audited before, it wasn't scary to me at all, honestly. I was like,
It's fear.
it was not scary.
Me too, especially with my 21 taxes. So scared for 3 years.
How am I gonna go to prison forever? It's
Just like
It's
6
an
to 9
audit.
months.
I need 3 hots and a cot, okay? I need an opportunity to work out.
I wasn't scared, honestly, because I had all the things, and it was just like, this is what they're asking for, this is what we got, like, I wasn't nervous at all, I was pissed. I was like, this is so annoying, because it's just extra steps and things I had to follow up on, but I just figured it was just cost of doing business, right? The income levels, when they jump, the IRS is curious, like, why did your income level jump so high, or why did your expenses jump so high? Right, those are just things like, if you're growing a business and your gross commission income, like Aaron, goes from 2 million to 8 million in a year. It's gonna like, some red flags are gonna go off, right? Like, oh, so what's going on over there? Why all of a sudden are the deductions so much higher, right? They had more deductions this year than they had revenue last year. What's going on with that, right? The IRS is gonna be curious. So on your next page, we've got a little bit of an exercise.
Yeah.
It says, know the difference between personal and business. So accountant fees, personal or business? Business. Automotive, gas, insurance. Both. Business cards. Business. Cell phone. Both. Clothing.
Unless.
Personal. Unless it has a logo on it. Computer. It could be both. If you use it for personal use, it can be both. Groceries.
In my taxes, I only use my computer for business.
Okay. Do you only use groceries for business?
No.
Yes, the answer to that is yes.
Yes, I only eat at work. That's the only time I eat.
I am constantly working. That makes it a business.
Michael, you just haven't figured out how to do that
My
yet.
fault. It builds all my clients.
We have our team meeting up.
All right, health insurance, if you're just paying for yourself through your business, I think that's a legitimate business expense. But if it's like family and all that other stuff, just make sure that you're watching the line there. Your home mortgage and rent is a personal expense. Home office, though, can be both. You can write off portions of a home office on your taxes for that. Home utilities could be both, if you have a home office. Meals can be both. But I'm just telling you, if you have like, I don't know, $25,000 a year in meal expense, that might light up some flags for other people. Membership in professional organizations like RAAC and those types of things, that's business. Memberships to gym, movie theater, that's personal. Travel to family reunion or regional events. I know we've got a big one next week. Mark King's coming in. He's going to be talking about the state of real estate industry. There's going to be big panels. If you guys are going to that, you bought a ticket, that's going to be a business expense. Vacation, even if you talk about real estate, it's a personal expense. Stop it. My husband always.
I've written contracts on vacations.
Well, I mean,
and there is a gray area there. I'm just saying.
You
Jockey's
know the
always
gray
like-
area? You get licensed in the state that you want a vacation in.
oh, isn't Florida like?
That's not a gray area. That's what home.
It is not a reciprocal.
It's
It's
not.
No.
I have a question about that, because like I do a lot of networking with agents all over, and we always do like group trips, like from all different states, so.
I
would write
consider
that off.
That business
I-
travel.
Yeah, I write off like the hotel and flight. I don't really do the food because I'm horrible with receipts. But
That's when that credit card comes in handy.
Yeah, well, to go to a bank account set up, I got.
Yeah, I think that's like, if you consider that like business travel, if it's for business networking, that's family reunion, right? Like.
Right, it's just not like a
Yeah.
legit
like Keller Williams event, you know, sometimes, but.
I would
It's
make,
your business event, it's your business.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally only real estate agents and lenders
do
and
yourself,
an
do
attorney
yourself
every
a
now.
favor. If you do that, create an agenda of what you covered at that event and just save it in a separate folder. So that you know, like, here are the people that attended, here are the topics that we talked about, this is where, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And just make sure to like have something that like.
I mean,
if
it's
you-
nothing official. It's not like we rent out a
I
whole,
think
you
you
know what I mean?
create an agenda for yourself,
Okay.
what you guys are gonna, and it might actually be something that like. Could help you be more purposeful about that business.
Right,
So
right.
you can create the agenda after also,
Yeah,
like, this is what.
It's just.
this is what we covered, this is what we did, just to kind of like a CYA.
Right.
And then website fees are gonna be business. So here's a couple of things on the next couple of pages, auto deductions. So you're gonna keep track of the miles driven in a year. There's a couple of different apps that are recommended inside of your materials. But write down your odometer readings, right? If you're gonna track having a book, or if you're gonna use an app to track the number of miles that you have every year. You're gonna calculate the percentage of business use. That's also something you're gonna need to give to your account, so they know what to write off. And so on page 40, there's a couple of different mileage tracker apps that you can use. That'll help you track your miles for there. It also talks about like, should you take the standard deduction for mileage, or should you do something else? Again, like most people, for us, because of how we drive, like actually taking the mileage is most likely going to be in your best interest. This is one of the items that I got audited on. So this is what they wanted to see when we got audited. They wanted to see our mileage tracker. So just to kind of put that in perspective for you guys. And we just had an Excel spreadsheet that we used. That was just something that like I got my husband in the habit of filling out. And so that's just what we did. You guys can use, this was a while ago, but you guys can use any kind of apps or something like that if that helps you. All right, so you're gonna keep track of all your auto expenses. And then on the next page, it has on page 42, it has a checklist for tax deductions there for you. So it talks about all the different things that are tax deductions. So your fees, delivery charges, dues, license fees, promotions, rent and salaries, trade stuff.
What are bad debts? Because I never learned.
Bad debt is.
That's if somebody hasn't paid you.
That's when somebody owes you money and you're just like done trying to collect it. So that's bad.
Damn.
You can't write off your bad debt.
Okay.
That's yeah, that's like if you gave a personal loan to someone and then you just realize they're never gonna pay you back. Yeah.
The unpaid rent, you know.
Mhm.
Right.
Ask for tenants to pay you.
Yeah, my 3 kids. Yeah.
Tuition.
We have to pay for them rent.
Sibling.
I told them I was gonna garnish their wages for the electric bill when they started working. They were scared. Then the oldest one told the second one, she didn't take mine, she's not gonna take yours.
Oh, yeah.
Damn them communicating.
For real. They don't like each other any other time.
All right, so on the next page, home office, so it says you can deduct the use of your home office. It requires that your office be used regularly and exclusively for your business. So this means it's not for personal use. And one measure is if you could see clients in your home. Not many of us are seeing clients in our homes, but many of us do, especially since COVID, have a spot in our home, a bedroom or something like that, that is just for our real estate business and our businesses that we run. So that is one deduction that you can use. You can write off 50% of business related expenses for entertainment and meals. So if you're hosting client appreciation parties, if you're renting out the theater for a private showing for a client appreciation party, or you're doing something like that, like you're doing a pie giveaway or something like that, you can write 50% of that off.
As of last year, the IRS is kind of a COVID bonus, allowed it to be 100%.
Oh, great.
But I don't know if that's going to continue for 2022.
They haven't determined it yet.
Right, but for 2021, because everybody was sort of like homebound and stuff like that. So
That's great.
that could still be available.
Awesome.
And
And then
it's important too to make sure that you get the difference between marketing, like I'm handing out pies, to entertainment.
Yep. So,
Knowing the
yeah, because
difference,
marketing,
because
you
one
can,
you
yeah,
can write off more and one you
than
can.
the other.
Right.
Yep. So, business travel, you can deduct 100% as of the writing of this, writing of this manual.
I'm hungry.
I'm like doing all kinds of stuff right now. Okay, page 44, record keeping. So this is how you can keep track of all your business expenses. So there's a couple of different options here for you. We use a system called Account Edge. It was just a system that I was really familiar with. It's very similar to QuickBooks. I just find it a lot easier to use than QuickBooks. So we use Account Edge, and what I like about it, just like QuickBooks, you can have different companies that you can run under the same software system. You just create a new file. So if it's McBride Holdings versus McBride Property Investments versus whatever, you know what I mean? You can do different, if you have different LLCs, you can run them under the same software. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. Record keeping options are there for you on page 44. And that's taxes, you guys. We got through it quick. Woo-hoo.
It's the only one of us that's doing a restaurant.
It's me. Hi. Hi, I'm that person. I'm that person. So the next part will actually go really quick. So I have a decision that I need to make and I want your feedback on it. I feel like we should just keep going. We're at 2:02. I think I can get this next part done in about a half an hour. We can get out of here at 2:30. Or we can take a break and then we can get out of here at 3. So I'm fine to keep going. If you guys need to take a break, you can go to the restroom and do all those things. I just want to make sure that I want to recognize that you've been sitting for 2 hours. You guys cool to keep going? Okay, so plan to track your rate of success. All right, so page 48. Page 48. So we're at an interesting time of the year because everything is like fresh and new and shiny, right? It's like a new notebook. We have new plans, we're gonna hit big goals, we have all these things that we want to do. So right now, if we're just looking at this year, we've got our goals, what we expect to hit, and our goals are going to be based on the vision that we want to live our life on. And we have actuals, what we actually hit. So, and these are based on the activities that you engage in, the results that you actually get, right? So when we're thinking about goals versus actuals, how are you guys determining whether or not you hit your goals? Like, what are some of the ways that you every month sit down and compare? Like, what do you guys do?
I track everything on a whiteboard for the whole year.
Okay.
And
That's
I
a
have,
big whiteboard.
and then I have like my goal and how much I've done. And then I put the percentage by it.
Okay. So you're tracking it on a whiteboard. How are you guys tracking?
I do this and my coach doesn't like it. Just do kind of what feels good. She's not happy with that.
No, that's, yeah,
Whiteboard.
whiteboard.
My lead tells me what I do.
You're who?
Dave tells me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, she's trying to give me away. Ever since she brought her on the team, she's like.
Digital
There's so
everything.
much less writing in that, so much more typing.
so we've got a couple of whiteboard users. How are you guys tracking your goals versus actuals?
We do Excel, so we take we sat down with Aaron, who's missing. We sat down with Aaron and did like the financial goal setting, what that means in terms of prospecting, how many we have to close, how many phone calls we have to make. And then we actually chunk it down per month.
Okay.
So we're tracking each day, we're going in and putting, this is how many phone calls we made, this is how many contacts we made, this is how many appointments we set.
Okay. So you're doing it every day?
Yeah,
Okay, so you guys are.
and then we
tracking-
follow up every week.
Okay, do you have like a number of contacts that you have to make per day?
That's our own personal goals based off of
what
our
want to produce.
GCF,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool, okay, so you guys are doing it kind of like a daily check-in. Roxanne, you're doing it every month or as things are updated, or what's your
Oh, I have two boards. So I have what's going on. I keep like. Kind of anal about it. So I keep track of everything, like everybody I'm calling, everybody that's kind of like in the pipeline. When something goes under contract, that goes up. I keep track of like all the dates there. And then I also use 2 calendars to kind of keep track, but then it gets moved over. When something closes, it gets moved over to a different board with
Okay.
and that actually goes into a spreadsheet because I like to keep track of mine versus the way that KW does it. You know, the division of the 3% to get those numbers that come on the top down report.
Okay, so you have your own individual system that you're using.
Yeah.
You have your whiteboard, are you updating it every day as transactions happen every
So
month?
I have a goal whiteboard, but then we have a production whiteboard, actually it's a clear board, and then we have a settled board, which actually is now turning over to a smart board to where we don't have to write on it. She can update it because we just moved offices and getting away from all of the print, but our production board is still all
All
print.
the scan right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we actually have just like a pre-printed board like that where everything's there and we just fill in the areas, which is really nice. We had it all printed up, so everything stays nice. We know where everything goes and.
awesome. Anybody else doing anything different? How about you guys? How are you tracking goals versus actuals? Not tracking, okay. Okay, do you think it would be valuable? Let me ask you a question. Do you think that it would be valuable to track your goals versus your actuals?
It's so painful
It is painful.
at the end of the week and you're like, but I worked so hard, but I actually didn't. When you look at like, because you do spend a lot of time doing real estate
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but it's not
But
always stuff
Salary
moving
numbers.
forward.
I would tell you the most productive thing, I think, for us, and I'm sure you'd agree, the rest of the team would agree, is our final action board. So we can see what the year's been looking like. We can see which months have been strong, which months have been weak. We can see across the board which month's been strong for this agent, weak for that agent, and maybe ask why.
Yeah.
Because you have, because when you settle deals, you forget what deals you settled. You know, if you try to remember back a week, a month, 2 months, 6 months ago, when,
6 hard.
yeah, because you're thinking, did I settle them this year? Was that last year? And if you have a board there with all your settlements on it and you have them dragged out by the month, and then we have a running total, so we know what our total looks like for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's similar. So like, you know, what's closed and the percentages, honestly, my goal is up here and the percentage of where I am to that goal is really helpful. And I also write down each month when they settled. So I can see like, and even accounting wise, I have it set in my commissions come in, whether they're listing or buyers, so I can see where I need to put more effort.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I don't even have goals really, or how to go about it. I'm very new when it comes to that. So hearing all this really helps. I do get overwhelmed though, because I feel like in my head, I'm coming up with all these goals, how to do it. So how do you keep yourself from being stressed out? And I'm also the type where if I don't hit my goals, I feel hard on myself.
That's a really good question. Let's everybody come together real quick and like, let's talk about the question. So the question is, how do you set goals? Like, how do you know what kind of goals you need to set? And how do you set them so that they're not overwhelming? I'll give you my version and then I'll give everybody else a chance to kind of think about it. When I think about like how to set a goal for a business, if I was new to real estate or if I was like coming into it for the first time, I think I would go back to how much money do I need to make? Not like big wide goal, not anything like that, but just how much money do I need to make? If my rent's $1,000 a month, if I have a $500 a month like car payment, if I have $500 a month in miscellaneous, whatever it is, right? I'm gonna come up with my number. I'm gonna say, okay, so now I know I need to make $5,000 a month or $4,000 a month to pay for my life and live, right? And then I'm gonna say, okay, like, if I'm in real estate, right, I'm giving you real estate advice. The average sales price in York County is what, like 250, 230?
250.
250, so let's just use 250. I probably have to close one house a month to be able to like live that life, right? 1 to 1.5 houses a month, I'm gonna have to close. That's gonna be my initial goal. It's gonna be that simple, right? Or if I'm still working in another field and trying to transition into real estate, I'll say, okay, what does it look like? What do I have to do to close a house every other month to get myself going? And I'm gonna start my initial goals that I'm setting for myself when I'm trying to figure something out are very conservative. Because for me, the goal is to learn how to do it. It's not necessarily to get that exact result, because the first year my husband was doing real estate, the first 12 months, I think he sold the first 12 months he sold 4 houses, but that next year he sold like 15. Right. So if we were judging like what he would do in real estate that first year, 4 houses, you're like, oh my God, that's horrible. But then he knew what he was doing and he built up the pipeline enough and connected with enough people that then it became very consistent. It was like one every, you know what I mean, every month to every couple of weeks, we were having a settlement come in. So that feels like it's not overwhelming to me. It feels like it's something very attainable. So for me, that's how I'm going to set a goal. If you're really new and you're in your first year or two, one of your goals might be that you're going to set up an LLC. You're going to get your structure in place, right? I'm going to set up my LLC. I'm going to get my bank account set up. I want to make sure that like I'm ready to do that. And then I'm going to try to fund my business with a certain amount of money. So I'm going to take $4,000 or $5,000 and put it into my business account so that I know I have money to lead generate. Now I have money to pay my office bill. I have money to do the things that I need to do to start generating business for myself. If I were to go into real estate tomorrow and have to actively sell, those are the steps that I would take.
Okay, no, that helps.
Was it your first year?
Yeah, I'm only a couple months.
I felt this exact same way and I got that response a lot and it's great advice, but that was overwhelming to me. So what I found was productive in my first year, well, I didn't have Erin my first year, but you don't have to recreate the wheel. If you sit down with Erin, she will work those numbers backwards with you. And then I would take Ignite. And Ignite will show you what steps you need to be doing every day to help you reach the number of contacts, which will result in this amount of appointments, which will result in this amount of closings.
Is Ignite?
And Ignite is a class.
It's going on right now.
Yeah.
We have regional Ignite going on.
So mine was very simple. I'm coming on my second year. I knew what my salary was from when I was stepping away from my job. And my first goal was to replace that salary.
There you go.
It was ambitious. I fell short. But then my second year, I closed double the deal to do in that first year. But I started off with I wanted to replace my salary. To then I want to live a comfortable life. So then what is that gross commission net look like? And then I work another back. So how many deals I got to close at this price point, your average home sale in your area? How many deals I got to close in a quarter? Because we work on a 90-day calendar.
Yep.
So I do every quarter. So my goal last year was to close 19. And I fell short, but that was 4 houses each quarter. But my first and second quarter of last year were slow. But third and fourth, I made up for those first 2. So it can be discouraging. It can. But then it kind of gives you ambition too. Then it does spark the fire when you're downstairs in your office or wherever it be. So it's just knowing the numbers, because a lot of people will tell you it's the conversion. The more people you talk, and even though I was getting a lot of no's in the beginning, that turned around into a lot of yeses now today. So it's nurturing and being consistent, and our prospecting is all different for everyone. Everyone has a different approach. Pick what you feel like is more you and the target you want to hit, the kind of clients you want to work with. That's what I use.
Yeah.
But it's time blocking. Ignite was a big help.
Yep, and that regional ignite's going on right now too, and it's online. So it's just through Zoom. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think it's from 10 to 12.
It's excellent. I'm actually doing it again.
Yeah, and the instructor who did that is phenomenal. She's so good. And it's cool is that it's the entire region that's participating in that. So there's people, like we have 45 offices across our region. So you hear so many different techniques, not just from like our local area, but like what's working in Pittsburgh, what's working in Philly, what's working in Delaware, and all over. It's just a good information. Thank you. Yeah. All right, so we've got our goals. We talked about how we set them. And then you're gonna have 2 financial scorecards. The income that you need to make and your profit and loss statement. It's gonna tell you the income, so what you make, your expenses or what you spend, and your profit is what's left over. So when you hear a P&L or profit and loss, that's what that's gonna tell you. And then you also have a balance sheet. So your balance sheet's gonna tell you what assets you have or what you own, what your liabilities are or what you owe, and then your equity, what's left over. So when we're looking at a sample profit and loss statement on page 50,
I'm sorry, this account edge that you use, does it show this?
you can import the chart of accounts from Keller Inc. It's kellerinc.com. You can download the chart of accounts, and then you have to manually put that into account edge when you're setting it up.
Oh, yeah, we're not doing that.
Remember that goal worksheet that you and I did that I shared with you? If you look at the tabs on the bottom, you'll see one that's called the MREA, and that's that.
Okay.
Thank you. So balance sheet or your profit and loss statement, sorry, your profit and loss is going to mirror your budget. So in what you're seeing here is you've got your income. So this is the income that's going to come in monthly and annually. Your cost of sales, what's going out, and then your operating expenses. And then what's left over is your profit. And we're going to go through different ratios. So according to the MREA, so remember we said that 30% of what you make is going to go to operating expenses. And this is where you're going to have what percentage of that 30% should go to those different expense lines. So for salaries, it should be 15.5%. Lead gen 9.6. I think that probably needs to be a little bit higher nowadays. Education and coaching is at 1.5, and then all the other ones are broken down for you. So when you're looking at your expenses and what the MREA model says, those are the ratios that you're going to want to fall in line on.
What is occupancy? Oh, the
Like
local
rent.
tax?
You good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so study a sample profit and loss statement. So let's look at this together. I said you, by the time you leave today, you will have a 9th grade knowledge on how to look at a profit and loss statement. So Ryan, I'm gonna call on you because I know that you know.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Thanks for coming back.
Stay hidden.
Stop. So I know you know this because you and I have gone through, it took us, I mean, we studied profit and loss statements and balance sheets together for a long time. So do you think that it's reasonable for someone to expect to get this the first time through, if this is the first time they're looking at it? So what advice would you give? What advice would you give everyone around the
As far
balance
as
sheet
to
and profit and
understand
loss?
it, learn it,
Mhm.
repetition, I mean, looking at it at least weekly. We do for the office, we do a soft close every Friday. So you're looking at your P&Ls every Friday and understanding what needs to be adjusted, understanding where you stand, so that way you know what to expect towards the end of the month, like you're projecting. If you're doing it weekly, again, with that repetition, you'll start to master that over the course of time.
Yeah. How quickly can you now identify if something's off in your business?
Like pretty instantly. I mean, when you're looking at them, I mean, I've been doing it, what, 5 years now? So yeah, you kind of know when something's off or there's a variance that doesn't make sense.
Right. So you know how to ask questions.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're looking at it weekly, you're looking at it at least 52 times a year, and you've looked at it for 5 years. So over time, repetition, right? And then with having to be the one who has to answer questions at certain times, right? What's going on here? Did you look at this? What's it, right? So this is where, if you're working with an accountant or if you're working with someone you can have as an accountability partner who you're sharing your information with. I think that that's a healthy environment to be in, by the way. That's just my opinion. But if you need accountability partner, you've got Aaron, you've got Ryan, who can help you, like, just take a look at your profit and loss statement. And they'll tell you like, hey, this looks off to me, or this is something that I would investigate. But if you're doing it consistently, that time on task over time, you'll get to a point where, I mean, I can look at it and tell you exactly what happened. Or exactly what's off, or exactly, I can start to identify things now because I've looked at them so often that you can really understand the story of what your business is
Then,
doing.
and then to add on to that, so like your operating expenses, those are a lot of things that you can control and change.
Yep.
So if you're looking at lead gen and you're looking at it weekly, and after your first quarter, you realize your ROI is negative, you probably need to change something up.
Yeah.
Put your money and energy into something else.
Right, so ROI is return on
Yeah,
investment.
sorry.
So if you spent, if you spent $18,000 in the first quarter and you haven't made that 4-to-1 ratio back or return on investment back, you might want to reevaluate, like if I'm spending $1 and it's not making me $4, is it that I haven't given it enough time, or I'm just not putting my dollars to the right place? Right? So that's when we're talking about return on investment. And that's why it's really important to look at least monthly so that you have a good idea of where are you spending money, how's money coming back in, right? How's money leaving? Where is your ROI negative? Where are you bleeding cash? That's another thing. And then when you start to really look at this, you'll start to look at things like your dues, like why am I paying for right? Like all these different things that then I'm not using and I'm not generating any income from them. But I went to family reunion and I had a squirrel moment and I was like, oh, that looks fun. Like I want to go buy that thing or this thing, or right. So in this example, so what we're looking at, I just want to walk you guys through this on page 51. The way that you read this is you're looking at your income first. So that's going to be at the very top and it's going to tell you where your income came from. So in this example, you've got total residential income that came in. The budget that we thought or forecasted was 275,000, and what we've brought in is 260,000. This particular business has commercial income of 10,000. So total GCI, the budget was 275 and their actual was 270. Now you've got your cost of sales. So remember, this is the money that you have to pay out. So total commissions paid out in this example is 60,000. And the total cost of sales budget was 82.5. So the actual is 60,000. And that brings you to your first gross profit number, right? So the budget, we wanted to have 192,500 after we paid out our cost of sales. And we actually have 210. From there, we're going to back out all of our expenses or subtract out all of our expenses. So you have all of your totals there for you. Again, you're looking at your budget line first versus your actual. And at the very bottom, you're always going to have totals, right? So it's going to say, these are all the different ways that it comes out, but then here's your expenses. This is your budget. This was your total, or this was your actual. And then you've got your profit, your net income. So what your budget was versus what your actual was. Any questions on how to read this? Okay. Go a little bit deeper. So if you go to, skip over page 52, let's go to page 53. Now, when you're actually doing this, you're not going to have everything rolled up into one line. It's not just going to say total. You're going to be able to see everything really sectioned out on your profit and loss statement. So on page 53, what it does is it walks you through, okay, residential income, and you're going to break out your residential income to a couple of different buckets. You're going to have your listing income. Again, that's money that's coming in from closings from listings. Sales income is money that comes in from buyers, referral, and leasing. You're going to add all of those numbers up, and that's going to lead to your total income for your residential. And then you've got the same thing for commercial, if you're selling commercial. And then any other real estate income that you might have. From leasing and referrals and those things. Yeah.
Since the, my command or my KW or command break this down for me, or is this a separate spreadsheet?
The MREA, the economic breakdown is on, it's kellerinc.com. That's where you have to pull that from.
Okay,
And that's where you'll,
but based off of the stuff that we
It's
send
all
to Jen,
based-
it all gets dumped in there.
yep, it's all based off of these models.
The simplicity is beautiful.
And then you got your total GCI. So we're gonna add all of the different ways that your income is coming in, and then you're gonna have your total gross commission income. On the next page, we get to your cost of sales. So this is the money that you pay out. So you're gonna see the commissions that you pay to the office. And because you're part of Keller Williams, you're only gonna pay commission to the office while you're contributing to your company dollar cap. Now, once you're capped, you don't have to pay any commissions to the office anymore, so you'll get 100% there. Royalties are also capped, so royalties are capped at $3,000. Listing cost of sale, so if you're running a team and you have someone on your team who's contributing to your listing and you're paying them part of the listing commission, this is where you would book their commission. So all of the team's gross commission income is going to come into one umbrella. And then on your profit and loss statement, you're going to break out how much they are earning so that you can actually see how much is your cost of sale for your listing side. How much is your cost of sale for your buyer side, right? You want to be able to track those things because there's different ratios that you're going to want to fall into. And the biggest mistake that I see people make when they're growing teams is that they get out of whack in those two categories. They have their team members on too aggressive of splits for the listing side and the buyer side, and then they end up going out of the 30-30-40 ratios. So this is something to pay really close attention to.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Is there an industry percentage? Like, is there, talk about working backwards the numbers, is there a percentage that if I plug in my numbers and I can see this percentage is in line with an industry standard?
In the MREA, it breaks down some of that for you. And it's
Well,
it's
MREA, we're gonna have a class on that.
Yeah.
What am I doing
Millionaire
here?
real estate agent, and it's largely dependent upon how big your sales team is and what level you're at
Okay,
in your building your business. Because at certain levels, your listing cost of sale should be 0 until you hit the point where you're actually bringing on someone to help you with listings.
right,
Right,
Okay.
so it's all broken out in the MREA for you.
MREA.
Millionaire real estate agents. Yeah, millionaire real estate agent, MREA.
Thanks.
Yep. So those are all your commissions paid out. And you're gonna have your total there. And then again, what leads that, we're gonna take the commissions that we've paid out versus the commissions that come in, and that leads us to our gross profit. Expenses. All right, so as you go through your profit and loss statement, you're gonna have a couple of different expenses. So when you get to your expense categories, you're gonna see your expenses broken out into a couple of different buckets. Again, we're gonna try to keep as transparent and clear every single dollar that we spend and where all of those dollars go. So under salaries, you're gonna have salaries. This is just for administrative management. You're gonna have any kind of benefits that you may pay out, how much your payroll expenses are gonna be listed out for there for you, and then any contract labor that you might have. And then all of your totals. And then you'll also have your expenses for lead generation. So any advertising, mail, internet lead generation, entertainment, all of your lead generation expenses will also be broken out. Now, I'm of the opinion that you can always add extra expense lines. So if you want to be really clear on, if you have Zillow, realtor.com, and you want to actually see your ROI in each one of those categories, it's okay for you to have more expense lines that you book things through. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Work with your bookkeeper and your accountant to have them give you some advice on the best way that they can set it up. But I want to see every single thing broken out. It just helps me understand really quickly where I'm at with everything. On the next page, we're continuing with, you got your education and coaching expenses and how those are all going to be broken out. And then occupancy, this is going to be if you're renting an office in your market center or another location. So we have a model in Keller Williams called the mega agent office model. And what that allows our agents to do is say that you get to a certain level of production and you decide that you want to have your own office space. You can go off and open up a smaller office off of this office, and there's a whole bunch of paperwork and a whole bunch of things, right? So don't think you can just go do this tomorrow. You can't, I promise.
Like yesterday.
But you do have the ability, and there's a couple of little satellite offices that exist off of this office, right? So you do have the ability to go off and do something like that. That is part of our entrepreneurial spirit with Keller Williams, is that we're not going to ever hold you back from building your business as big as you want it to. So if you qualify and you hit all the criteria, we're also not going to let you fail, right? We're going to make sure that you have a proven track record that you can go do this and it'll be successful. You can go off and rent your own office space with your own Keller Williams sign on the outside of it. So that is an option. But again, there's certain criteria that you have to hit in order to do that. If you had utilities that were connected to that, repair, depreciation, any of those other expenses would get booked into that bucket. Office expenses and all of your supplies and everything will be listed out there for you as well. Some big categories. The next is telecommunications. So again, if you have your own space and you have telephone services, you have a website creation, all of those other things will be booked under your communication and technology. And those are all your different buckets that you have. You've got automobile, and then again, equipment and furnishings. So if you're renting a copier, if you have a fax machine, nobody has faxes anymore, right? All those different things will be listed out there for you. And then other expenses, any other expenses that you might have would be listed. And then once we back out all of the expenses, it leads you to your business profit. Any questions on any of that?
What, if we pull this off of there, then kind of just like a plug and play, like it will do the calculations for you.
You have to upload it into the software. So you'll be able to download like the infrastructure of it, but it's not going to automatically calculate it for you unless you put it into some type of accounting software. So all of the bones are there, and then you would decide if you want to use QuickBooks, if you want to use Account Edge, or any of the other softwares that are available. Or we heard from someone earlier, he gave us, who was it?
Jeremy.
Jeremy said that he has a bookkeeper that follows this, and this is what he was saying. So he has a bookkeeper who is managing all of this for him, and then he's just sending his information to them, and then they're using the MREA chart of accounts, which we just went through, to generate his profit and loss for him.
So theoretically, on a low level, you could use like a spreadsheet.
I mean, yeah, if you're just getting started, you certainly could. You would want to break it out per month and then have a yearly total at the end.
Okay.
I will say though, QuickBooks is really easy. That's what I use. And I just bought the desktop. It's like $200. You can use it for years. It does your P&L, does your balance.
And that's a part of that write-off.
And then, yes, and then everything in my bank accounts gets downloaded automatically and I just put them in the categories. It's really simple.
Okay.
All right, guys. So here's what I'm gonna tell you. The next couple of pages are just an exercise for you if you want to go through that. And a case study. We're not gonna have time to do that today just because we did a very consolidated version of this course. Normally when I teach it, it's 8 hours long. So trying to go through everything in 3 is a little difficult. But you got your budget planning. So on page 64, you go into budget planning. And we've talked a lot about this already. And I walked you through an exercise and you have some of the beginning parts of this. So budget planning, you're going to have your personal budget, which is for your life, right? Like your mortgage, your car, all of that. And then you're going to have your business budget, which is separate. So on page 65, I really like this a lot. This is your personal budget worksheet. So these are all of the things and all the different possibilities of expenses. So you have your personal budget worksheet in here. Here's what I'll tell you. If you don't have a budget, you don't have a limit.
You also don't know your net worth.
You don't have a limit, like, I'm just saying, like, if you really think about it, I think the way that I've gotten in trouble in the past with money is because I don't have a budget for it, so then I'm just like, I mean, I literally have a budget for home goods, you guys, like, it's for real. Like, I have a quarterly amount that I will allow myself to spend at home goods. It used to be Pier 1, but Pier 1 got shut down.
I know.
Even when you think you're working on a budget, if you don't have a budget, you really don't have a budget.
You don't.
Yeah, I learned that when I was doing some projects and I said, well, I'm doing it on a budget. And my sister-in-law looked at me, she goes, well, what's your budget? I said, what's on a budget?
It's all in my mind.
Yes, like I actually didn't have,
He doesn't mean budget.
Yeah.
Budget doesn't mean.
yeah.
Try.
For me, I just have to remind myself, if I don't have a budget, I don't have a limit, because I enjoy life, right? Like, I like going out and hanging out with my husband and going to the beach and doing all the things. Like, we put ourselves on a budget this summer, like, this is how much we're gonna spend on total recreational activities over the summer. So I would want way overboard, right? I know myself, especially if I like want to go to Harpoon Handles and it's nice and there's like no, stop. No. And then you see the boat, you're like, well, maybe we could rent a boat too. Right? And then it's like just because
You gotta take muffins home.
It's a whole,
It sounds like we created a support group as well.
My son and I, we had to go to Florida for a funeral a couple of weekends ago, and when we were down there, we had an extra day, so I was like, let's go to Universal Studios. And I didn't have a budget, but I spent way more than I should have, right? So I'm like,
Grieving is different for everyone. Don't guilt yourself.
we definitely need fast pass. Oh, we definitely need sweatshirts.
Sounds familiar.
But yes, like it's crazy. And then before I knew it, I was like, oh my god, that's so fun. I didn't have like that in my head of what I needed to do. So 65 personal budget, it'll keep you straight. And we're not perfect, you guys, right? Like, life happens. There's going to be things that show up. And that's why when I walked you through that exercise earlier, I had you multiply your monthly number by 1.15, because you might just go to Universal Studios and spend $60 on a sweatshirt. Like, it's okay, right? But that's why we add those little buffer things in. And you don't know when someone's going to pass away and you're going to have to go out of state, or you don't know when these life things are going to show up and happen. And so I'd much rather overestimate how much I need and be, you know what I mean? Like, be more conservative in how much I need versus underestimate and put myself on too strict of a budget and then get myself into a situation where I'm like, oh, I don't have enough to cover the credit card bill this month or do whatever it is that I need to do.
You never know when you're really multiple.
Yeah. So personal budget worksheet is on page 65 for you. And that's going to be part of that homework decompress time that you're going to do when you go away. On page 67, you've got your business budget. And on 68, it goes into building out the detail of your business budget. Now, some of you have already gone through this exercise with Erin. If you haven't, I think she'd be happy to go through. So on page 68, 69, 70 are some blank pages for you to use to build a detailed business budget. I'd recommend pulling your credit card statements for last year, pull like your bank statements, wherever those business expenses have come from.
Michael and I are on the same page. Thank God.
You have to do it anyway. Like, it's tax time. Like, just.
Oh, it's all in here already. I just don't want to look at it again.
You don't have a budget, you don't have a limit. So you've got a couple of pages here. So what you might want to do is make a couple of copies of this, because you might the first time through miss something or want to adjust something. So make a couple of copies. 68 to 70 is a good one for you as well. And then once you have your budget, you've got to care for it and you've got to track. So this is one of the tips that we follow on the market center side is that we have something called the weekly soft close. So what a soft close for us looks like, and Ryan was talking about it earlier, what a soft close looks like for us is that's the time where we make sure that everyone's listings have gotten put in, their contracts have gotten put in, the closings have gotten put in, we paid everybody, we paid all of our bills, we've done everything that we need to do. So we kind of get like that weekly snapshot of where we're at. And then at the same time, we're reconciling our bank accounts, reconciling our bank accounts. And we're making sure that we've caught any expenses that might have hit and all of those types of things. From there, then now we can look at it and we can say, okay, where are we at in terms of our budget, like for the month? So after 2 weeks, I'm looking at the budget and I'm like, whoo, guys, supplies are a little high. Like, what are we doing here? Supplies is always high, by the way. Supplies is a little high. Like, what are we doing here? Where did we spend money? What's going on? I can ask questions as an OP on where we're spending money and what we're doing and all of those things. So looking at it and tracking it and making sure that you're like looking at the production that's coming in. It sounds like you guys all have different ways that you're tracking your production. Getting it into this type of format on a P&L so you can actually see the revenue coming in versus your expenses will give you a lot of clarity as well. So track your success. One of the tools that you have is on page 73, and it's called your agent trend report. So if you log on to my KW and you go to the report section, you're going to go to agent productivity or agent trend report. And what that report does is it breaks down for you all of those key metrics that are there on page 73. And it's going to show you January, or I don't know if there's an example in here. It's going to show you January through December. Oh, there it is. Can you guys see that? So
It's like a 12-month rolling.
yeah, it does for the years as well. So this one is from 2014 to 2018. So it breaks down all the different categories that we track for you. And it tells you what you did in January through December. It's going to give you your total. And then it's going to give you a month over month comparison and a year over year comparison.
That's really nice.
So this is, yeah, so this is done every month. Yep.
Do these pull from broker metrics?
No, these pull from Winmore.
Winmore.
So what we submit and what we transmit with is what's showing up here. Now, this is a really important point. Our Winmore system, the way that Winmore is how we communicate to Keller Williams International with all of our production numbers. So unless you guys are turning those things in and getting them into the office, we can't count them until they're turned in. And then we can only count them in the month that they're turned in. So we can't go backwards in time and adjust reports for you. So if you go under contract on something and you have a written unit or written volume, but you don't turn it in until you have a closing, we can't go backwards and say, actually, this was written in December, but it's not going to close until February. We can't go back to December and update those numbers. We can only update the current month that we have. And that's largely because we're a profit sharing company. And so our companies every single month have to create a profit and loss statement so that we can pay our agents profit share.
We see that a lot with the production is people are like, well, wait, I did 700,000 more. So well, when did you settle? On the 30th? When did you turn your check in? On the 3rd? Well, that's the discrepancy there.
Yep. So if you're going to utilize these tools, it's important that you create the structure inside of your businesses to get those things turned in so that the office can make sure that they're calculated for you. And I promise you that the team wants nothing more than to make sure that our numbers are accurate too. So usually get like a day or two at the end of the month. We have to transmit by the 3rd business day. That's our deadline for Keller Williams so that we can create the profit share calculation.
So I'm guilty. So turning in the information just like at closing when I want paid must have a wide margin. I'm trying to figure out what the traffic margins are for month to month.
It does.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I
I'll do better.
Yeah,
I do when I want paid.
I know.
Yeah, you did it. Now you notice the stress on the first and the second of every month upstairs.
Because everybody's turning their stuff in
Yeah.
all at one time.
Yeah.
So if you're turning things in as they're going under contract and we're getting that information, we can actually start giving you the clues for your business as well.
Right.
Because you're gonna get this agent trend report, and the agent trend report is gonna be able to help you project your future income as well. This is why you use Megan. Don't worry about it.
Would it be helpful for you guys if I took one of our training Wednesdays and taught you how to pull reports?
Yes, yes, but I don't know if it is for everyone. I mentioned earlier, mine's never pulled, so I always have to get it from Rachel. So maybe you want to
We
look
gotta
into
fix
that first, just to make sure it works for everyone.
Are you a member of multiple market centers by any chance?
No, I don't think.
Well, I was originally with Frederick, Maryland, but we switched everything.
Are you VR in Frederick? Are you removed from their system as a VR associate, do you know?
I should be, but I can check.
So you need to just be removed from their system because it might be still, because it's gonna default to your primary. So that might be what's happening.
Yeah.
And because you were there first, that would be considered your primary.
Okay, well then, forget what I said.
No, you're still gonna need
Maybe.
help.
Yeah,
You're still gonna need help, but
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
it works
yeah.
for everyone else.
that might be what's going on. All right, guys. So we just covered a lot of information. The rest of the packet, 76 is a health check. I like to spend a couple of minutes talking about this because we're real estate agents, real estate business owners, but at the same time, you have a whole life, right? Like this is not like your whole life, right? Like you have a whole life outside of here. And so I like to say that at Keller Williams, we try to help our agents understand that you are a whole person and not just what you do here. And today we talked a lot about business, we talked a lot about wealth building, we talked a lot about all of those other things. But money is only good for the good that money can do. Right? And so if you're doing good with it and you're treating it well and you're living the life that you want, then we know that we're doing our job and that we're helping you run the businesses that you want to have so that you can have the life that you want to live. And so when we're thinking about this, your health, it's not talking about just your business health, but it's also talking about your physical health, right? Guess what? Track your physical health and you'll get some insights too. Because I'm on that journey right now and it is not comfortable.
My fitness pal is not my pal. We are not friends.
So I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I have a Peloton. I ride it pretty consistently. I stopped paying attention to the metrics on it because I just get on, I do my thing and I get off. Well, yesterday I was doing a ride and all of a sudden my news feed, like on the Peloton, just starts like blowing up. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like I'm getting all these high fives. And I'm like, you are really friendly. It's January. Like, you know,
We're also motivating.
well, I like got done and its thing popped up. And it was like, you just hit your 450th ride. And I was like, well, that's nice to know. Yeah, I lost track of it. And I was like, you know what, for when I was like really getting it, I knew exactly how many rides I was doing every week, exactly what I needed to be at the end of the month, exactly, right? Like I was really tracking it. And I was like, okay, so this just was like a reminder to me yesterday. Like I need to get back to like knowing, okay, by the end of this month, I want to be at this many rides and like looking at it. Instead of like, oh, if I hit Monday every week, I'm good. Like, no. So it's the number of exercise minutes that I need every week. You know what I mean? And then calorie wise, like, holy crap, this ice cream has to be so bad. And beer, it's also bad for you. Calorie wise, it's just bad. But like tracking that and actually like looking at my fitness pal, because I use that too. Like, yeah, the numbers give you the story of what's going on, right? So it's you're a whole person. So physical health, your personal life, what are your key relationships like? I will tell you that like my son is a freshman, he's at Penn State right now. And I'm so glad that over the last couple of years, I took the time and like was super purposeful about making sure that I was present with him because I feel like my relationship is very strong with him. He's telling me things that I do not want to know. I promise you, I don't want to know this information. But I'm just glad that he feels comfortable to at least talk to me. I did have to like, be like, I don't need to know all of it, like, I just, like, now I'm just worried. But like, right, like we have this relationship where I feel good about it, and I feel good about where he's at, and I feel like he's making the best decisions that he can as an 18-year-old. Right, but that was a key relationship that I spent a lot of time and made sure that I was there. And all the other areas, right? So when you're thinking about all of these other areas of your life, it's what are you doing to make sure that you're measuring, tracking, and living the life that you want to live in those areas of your life. Outside of that, you guys, another thing that I want to point out to you as we're wrapping up. So we talked a lot about the millionaire real estate agent today, and I want to walk you through the models for growing a team real quick. And we're going to start on page 81. So as you're growing out an MREA team, you'll hear people say like level 1, level 2, level 3. I just want to walk you through this real quick, and then you can find all of this information in
The MREA. Apparently where all of the secrets are kept.
all of the secrets are in the
I
MREA.
had no idea.
All right,
Level 1, selling book, it's not really a secret.
So how much I'm in BAM, never.
all right. Level 1 is you. If you are a solo agent, you have a level 1 millionaire real estate agent business. Level 1. Level 2 is when you hire your first admin. When you're bringing on that first person,
What's a common mistake everyone does?
hire a buyer's agent first. That is not.
Cough, cough.
Are you saying you did that?
No,
No,
just saying
there's-
people sitting in this room, and I said, this is where mine says we fucked up.
He said it just like that too. So here's what I will tell you guys. The scariest hire you will ever make is your first admin. Scariest one. Scariest hire you will ever make.
Right, there's two different admins, and I learned this the hard way. There's maintenance admins, people that just show up and do your postcards, and then there's visionary admins that'll take you to the next level. And Megan was our visionary admin. She was an executive assistant that we created a vision with, set goals, and we reached them because she held us accountable. When the team was going at its strongest point. But when we had the $12 an hour trying to really be cheap, you get what you pay for, you weren't getting anything from them other than a bill, unfortunately.
I say there's builders and there's maintainers.
Yeah.
Right, so visionary and there's builders and there's maintainers. There's gonna be builders who come in and don't need you to they don't need you to build a system for them to thrive. They'll build a system so that they can thrive and so that you can thrive. Right, they're the ones that are like, give me the mess and I'll fix it and I'll clean it up and organize it and get it in a way that we can all do the things. Those people are out there, I promise you, right? And then you've got the maintainers, and they're the admins that are paralyzed unless you tell them exactly what to do.
And that's my work.
More work, and it's painful and it's frustrating, and you will want to scream. Because you will always have to tell them exactly what to do, and you're hiring someone because you don't want to do those things anymore, right? And it's like, it's so painful because you're like, oh my God, okay.
And you'll pay for a visionary, like you'll pay a good amount of money, but they should be able to support themselves and base it off, like your growth is an incentive to them to make more money.
Yep.
But you need to incentivize them as well.
Well, yeah, so if like you're closing 20 deals, they should be getting a bonus off of that, and that's the beautiful part of transaction fees. Like your clients can almost pay for their bonus if you structure it right.
As I was coming up through the system, I told you guys earlier, I started as an MCA, but I was the builder, right? I was the one that was like, let me go figure this out. I didn't have enough of my own capital to do my own thing yet. So I needed to earn capital in order to earn the right to go off and own my own businesses and do my own thing. I had my son when I was 21. I didn't have the luxury of doing it any other way, right? I had to learn on someone else's dime and I had to build someone else's company before I could build my own. That was just my journey. But when I came into the regional role 10 years ago, one of the things that I told Mike McCarthy at the time was, I said, listen, like, I will make enough money from myself to pay for myself every year. But then any money over that, I want 50% of. Because that means that you've paid for me and then we're going to come up with metrics and whatever that comes in, we're going to split it 50-50. And that's been our deal ever since. And it's been a very lucrative deal for me. He probably kicks himself sometimes. But that was the deal that we made. But his business went from 3,000 real estate agents to 11,000 real estate agents. So I think that I've done what I needed to do to help him grow his company. And then I also benefit from him growing his company. Does that make sense? So there's certain things in there that I'm going to pay for myself. And then we have to negotiate the after part. And then he's actually, like, since then has come back and said, you're not making enough anymore. Like, here's more. I'm like, okay. Right? Like, I'm not going to say no, but that's when you have like that right person, they want to be your business partner. And that's who I'm looking for. Like, I posted a job a couple of weeks ago and I said, I'm looking for my next business partner, right? Because I'm searching for this type of role for myself right now, for other things. So I'm looking for that person who wants to come in and help me grow and help me do all the things that I want to do. Because I'm finding myself, I have too many ideas and not enough time to implement them. And that's when I know that, like, I have a whole staff of people who are doing things and I still don't have enough to do all the things that I want to do. So I know I have to make another capital investment into that next role. Does that make sense? Like, I'm like, I have too many ideas. Like, I'm so frustrated. Like, I want to go do this. I want to go do this. And my team's like, oh my God. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. And they're really, really good. And like, they're overachieving and they're doing everything they need. But my thirst for growing and building more is not satisfied yet. But I know that about myself. Does that make sense? The first time you do this is the scariest. It's the scariest because you are at this point, you go through I'm not just generating income for myself and my family anymore. Now someone else is going to count on me and their family is going to count on me to make sure that we're delivering all the things that we need to. And then you're giving up control, right? So the other scary part is giving up control. Hi, I'm Michele McBride. I'm a control freak, right? Giving up control is hard.
Now we've got a support group.
Yeah. Like,
It's my spirit.
it is hard to give up control and to like let someone figure it out their own way. And you're just like, maybe like, and you want to tell them exactly what to do. This is me, not anybody else, right? But they get the result and it's better. And you're like, oh, well, maybe they didn't know what they were doing all along. I just need to back off, right? One of my partners, Jen, will tell you that I would tell her how to tech people in an event. And she told me to go pan sand. I did. So that's what happened. We'll see how it goes next week if I can keep myself out of the middle of the mix.
She did great at the women's fast.
He's fantastic. He's fantastic, and I need to stay out of her way. Okay, page 82 is when you get to your third level. So your first hire is going to be your lead admin, and then your second hire, you're going to hire a second admin. So it's going to be you selling and you doing the things, right? All the real estate generation and all those things. And then you're going to have a lead admin and a transaction coordinator. That's level 3. When you get to level 4, this is where you're going to start to expand your sales team. So here's the biggest mistake that I see people make, and Ryan, you'll probably relate to this. We have people who want to grow teams, but they grow teams by like thinking that they're going to like give out leads to people, but they're not providing any other service or support for those team members. And so the team member after a while is like, you're not doing anything else for me. Yeah, you're giving me a couple of leads, but now I'm generating my own leads too. And it feels weird to have to give you X percentage of my commission when I have to do everything else myself. I'm still responsible for all my own transaction coordination. I'm still responsible for doing all these things. Why am I going to give you 50% of my commission? Or am I going to give you
back to value proposition? Like,
Right.
you'll learn that, and Dana was on our team, and our value proposition for a while was getting hammered at 12 o'clock and we were all friends. And this is how it handed out.
Not here.
We grew up when we moved.
Day drink, that was that.
Yeah, right.
I had to drive like to Hanover.
But then we were given leads, and if the leads, like, then Zillow started changing things up, and like they rely on you for income.
Yeah.
So if your value proposition isn't not only giving them money and leads, but then you don't give them the support, like if you start lacking something, they will look at elsewhere. And
Yeah.
that's what happens with teams all the time. I think Ben Kinney said it once. I think he burned down and rebuilt his team 20 times.
Mhm.
And I can probably say I did 12.
Yep. So making sure that you have that value proposition in place, that you actually have a company and a team that you can recruit to, right? Like, here's the support we're gonna give you, here's the assistance that we're gonna give you, here's how we're gonna take care of you. You're gonna have to go out and show houses, but everything else outside of that is taken care of by the team. We're gonna do your marketing for you, all of those things, right?
That's what happens is it'll also take you, like, if they get their check and they're like, oh shit, I mean, 9 grand, but I'm only getting 44 grand or less. They're gonna start looking at you, and you need to be able to support why, yeah, there's probably more likely 2 grand. But you gotta support why that makes sense.
Yep.
And if you can give them 10 $2,000 deals, they'll probably be happy.
Yep.
But you gotta be able to stay consistent.
You have to be able to do that. Level 4 is where you get to be creative. Like, this is like creativity can come in play at level 4. This is what I'll tell you, this is gonna be largely based off of your personality profile, right? So at level 4, this is where you're gonna be able to take your own leadership style, the way that you like to sell, the way that you like to do things. And you're gonna start to be able to leverage off some of the sales stuff that maybe you don't wanna do, right? So level 4 is where it can get fun. You can have a lead manager come into your business at level 4. Maybe there's a lead buyer's agent that can come in, and you'll depending on how many buyer sides, you'll be able to determine how many showing assistants that you need, or even if you need to do that yet. So level 4 is where you're really going to start to grow out the sales side of your organization. So the way that I talk about my regional team and the market center that I'm part of, so as an OP, I say I have my ops team and I have my sales growth team, right? My growth team is my team leader. They're helping my real estate agents grow their businesses. I've got my productivity coach. They're helping the agents grow their businesses, right? And then I've got my ops team, my MCA, my agent services coordinator, my director of first impressions. They're making sure that all the trains are coming in and out on time, right? So that's market center. On the regional level, because I'm the area director of this region, on the regional level, I have an ops team. They're the ones that put on all our regional events. They're the ones that are making sure all the market centers are doing what they're supposed to do. They send the nasty grams to Ryan when he doesn't have anybody registered for the regional leadership meeting on Thursday.
Wait, I'm not sure.
You're not. I
There
shouldn't
are
do
like
that.
4 people going, so.
Yeah.
I got a message from Jen like 2 minutes ago that said, hey, remind them to get registered for the regional leadership meeting.
I'll
Just
send
saying.
out big text.
I just throw in passive aggressive stuff like that every once in a while. But like, they're the ones that are making
So I
sure.
love language.
Yeah.
Passive aggressive.
Long so well.
It's like the 9th thing.
But I know they're going, that's why I'm teasing them. So the teams, they're doing all of like the things, right? And then I have the growth side of my regional team, and I've got George Kelly, who helps real estate agents understand all of the technology suite. And I've got Joe Ryan, who works with our team leaders, right? So I have a growth and an operations side. We couldn't build the growth side until we had the operations side in place. So I had to have Jen and Missy and Teresa in place before I could hire Joe and George to run the growth side, because I needed to make sure that the value is there and that they understood how to deliver the value before we're going out there and selling all the other stuff, right? So that's kind of how it works. And that's how it'll work in your business too. You need to make sure that your real estate agents understand the value and your messages and the core that you want to deliver as part of your real estate business before you can just start bringing on real estate agents who have no idea what you stand for. The quickest way to crush your reputation, by the way, And so real estate agents out there who are sloppy, who don't know what they're doing, who aren't trained, and then now all of a sudden, right, your name is affiliated with anyone who's selling real estate on your team. And I don't think any of us want that reputation of being a sloppy real estate agent, especially with our clients, right? So making sure that core is strong is important. Level 5 is when you're going to bring in a listing agent. So up until this point, you are still responsible for all of the listings in your business. The point of level 4 is that you're starting to push off some of the lead gen activities. You're starting to push off some of the buyer activity, right? You're not going to be showing homes anymore, but you're still going with listing appointments up until that point. And then at level 5 is where you're going to add in a listing agent. And then you'll grow your team around your listing agent to support them. You're also at this point going to probably hire a director of operations, and your director of operations is is your right-hand person, making sure that all the things that need to get done are getting done. And you're stepping out of the day-to-day operations at this point. They're handling the operations at this point, and you're focusing more on the sales side. You're a sales director in so many other words. You might be considering expansion at this point. So you might say, you know what, we saturated what we could in York. We got to go to Hanover. We got to go to Gettysburg. We got to go to Chambersburg. We got to go to Lancaster, right? I might need to go out and find additional avenues of leads in different places because I've got so many, like York is where it's at. I'm not going to get the return on investment. If I spend more money for lead gen, I'm not going to get the same 4-to-1 ratio. So now I know I need to just go to a different market. And that's what expansion can help you do. And then at level 7, you hire a CEO to run your business. Yes. Right? You're not involved in the day-to-day. You're not the one who's making sure that all the day-to-day activities are getting done. You're hiring a CEO, and the CEO is the one who is running your business for you. So that's at level 7. By the way, most of the teams that I've seen get sold in the past 2 years, the CEO is the person who has bought the team. So they've earned the right to buy the real estate team from the original owner. So like Carrie Ritchie, for example, she was a big agent out in New Jersey. She had her business for years and years. Her CEO this past year bought her sales team from her. And now her CEO is that person who is the owner of that team. And Carrie got bought out and she walked away with $2 million for her sales team. But she had a very successful sales team for a long time. She sold the database, everything was documented. The CEO had worked in it for a couple of years. So it was a very natural transition for her to take over that team. So that's
how many teams are at level 7, would you say?
I don't know.
I mean, it's a lot.
I would say, yeah, I would say that across our company, a couple
Or like,
thousand, I would think.
How about like in our region? I'm just interested in.
Of 100 of our top 100 teams and groups, I would say you probably have 20 to 30 that are at that level where they had the director of ops and a CEO running the
Like
team.
Dave
Hook
is
just promoted Gruda.
yeah,
Okay.
he's probably the most local example.
Yeah, Dave Hook.
Okay.
What about Honest Home Solutions? I know they run a different kind of company, but they have a CEO.
Same, yeah, a
They're-
similar but different model of how they're doing it. I think Mike McCann, he has a CEO, he could step out of his business at any time. There's a couple of other Philly guys like David Snyder, Noah Ostroff, all those guys out there. Gaurav, yep, he hired CEO last year. Cool, so that's the MREA models and the millionaire real estate agent. We'll walk you through all of those different steps. The rest of the information in the book, guys, is just reference material for you. There's an appendix that gives you a lot of just the blank pages that we covered in class today. So they're yours just to reference back to whenever you need to. But we're done.
So on the chat, Bob said, thanks, Michelle, very informative and realized what I need to do.
Good. Awesome. All right, guys, seriously, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Always helps me learn and get better in research.
Okay, so do I need to call Frederick?
I'm seeing. I can look that up for you and make sure. I remember, I mean, I'm
I wasn't there.
And China, we're gonna.
Nice. Confidence in that.
That's when I started with him. He and I have talked in the past about like how it. Can I get this report and figure it out, but that might be it. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good. Last year, there's something you said, so last year at the rec house, about 1,900, there are things that needed to be done. So I just realized put too much money into that,